Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. Once again, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.
Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
Oh, are you in for a surprise?
You can be busy every day.
All day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
and it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org.
What summer without a trip to the beach? Elevate the journey with style from behind the wheel of your ultimate BMW at the Summer on Sales event. Experience an inspired performance in class-defining style in the 4 Series Grand Coupe. Or make the most of the versatile BMW X5. With everything you need to make the trip to the beach one to remember. Just be sure to arrive before all the beach chairs are gone. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Get a credit of up to $2,000 on select models now through July 31st.
You hear the music. Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Robinson, and welcome to At the Rim. This is the program that gets you caught up on anything and everything happening around the NBA. On the season finale, we have a jam-packed show for you. We have interviews with Kayla Grey, VojaMedic, CarolinaTeague, and NickAgarJohnson. Kayla comes to us hailing from Toronto, Canada. She's a SportsCentre anchor, also executive producer and host of The Shift with Kayla Grey, as well as a sideline reporter for the Toronto Raptors basketball team for TSN. And also we have VojaMedic, co-host of the Nuggets Serbia podcast. Also on the program, CarolinaTeague. She's the host of the League of Her Own podcast. And NickAgarJohnson, host of the No Ceilings NBA Deep Dives podcast, and editor-in-chief and writer for No Ceilings NBA, and a writer for #Basketball and Nets Republic. So we have a jam-packed show for you right here on this edition of the program. I want to start off with my top 3 storylines. I want to start off talking about VictorWembanyama. So the NBA Summer League has wrapped up in Las Vegas. And, of course, the talk of the Summer League was VictorWembanyama. Never in the history of the Summer League has it been amped up and hyped up with Victor coming from France over to the United States. Victor's appearance was electric, and he only played in 2 games during the Summer League, but nevertheless, he made an indelible mark on the people that were present to watch him play at the Summer League in Las Vegas. His first game, only 9 points. The media was ready to drag him down, saying, oh, he's not worth the hype, this, that, and the third. But guess what? His second game and his final game, he came up big with a double-double, 27 points and 12 rebounds. I get more into Victor's performance a little bit later in the interviews with CarolinaTeague and NickAgarJohnson. But bottom line is this. VictorWembanyama has probably had the most hype from an NBA prospect in a long time. Probably last that I can recall is probably LeBron James, that had this much hype coming into the NBA, but never like this when you have Summer League games selling out like this, anticipating not just the San Antonio Spurs, but most importantly, anticipating this year's #1 overall pick in VictorWembanyama. So the hype was real. Again, the first game, a lot of the media and a lot of the social media pundits tried to shut him down. But guess what? He quieted them real quickly with a stellar performance in Game 2, getting a double-double with 27 points and 12 rebounds. So the future of the San Antonio Spurs is bright. Greg Popovich, you know his history of coaching big men with the likes of Tim Duncan and David Robinson, and also his pedigree with international players like Tony Parker and Boris Diaw, Manu Ginobili, also Rasho Nesterovic, Tiago Splitter, just to name a few. So Coach Popovich, he's definitely going to be a big influence in Victor's career, and certainly the people in San Antonio cannot wait, and certainly the people in Las Vegas he was definitely worth the hype, and certainly it showed with the Summer League breaking records, specifically with ESPN breaking TV ratings records with the Summer League first time ever. My next storyline is going to be this year's NBA Summer League. So we have a new champion in this year's NBA Summer League, and that's the Cleveland Cavaliers. They went on to beat the Houston Rockets 99-78. But to me, there were many highlights throughout this year's NBA Summer League. Of course, VictorWembanyama, but you also had Chet Holmgren. He made a statement. He got hurt in last year's Summer League, and he wound up suffering a devastating injury, would miss all of the 2022-2023 season. But this Summer League, he stepped up and showed people that he has bounced back from that injury. You talk about teaching all of us a lesson in being grateful and being humble. Jabari Smith Jr. Jabari had made a quote during this year's Summer League, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he basically talked about just how last year was disappointing, and especially last year's Summer League performance that he had was disappointing, and he wanted to come in this year's Summer League and make a statement and show everybody that he was grateful for the opportunity and he wanted the most out of it, and certainly he did make the most out of it with the rising young stars with the Houston Rockets. So we mentioned VictorWembanyama. We also mentioned Chet Holmgren. We also mentioned Jabari Smith Jr. Also, Imani Bates looked really good as well. Imani playing for the 2023 NBA Summer League champion Cleveland Cavaliers. Also, Keontae George was another one from the Utah Jazz. Keontae George was somebody that also stepped up big during this year's Summer League. So overall, you add in the anticipation of VictorWembanyama, and of course with some of the gentlemen that I mentioned in this year's Summer League, and of course with the Thompson twins as well, with Amen and also Asar. You can't forget about them as well. So a lot of these guys were really the guys that I mentioned along with Victor. This was probably the most hyped up Summer League ever thus far. I mean, a few years ago, the Summer League was not hyped up like this for Zion Williamson and a Ja Morant. But, man, when you add VictorWembanyama, that was just the icing on the cake. And then with the other gentlemen that stepped up to the plate in this year's Summer League, I mean, Las Vegas was definitely rocking. Not only was the Heat rocking, but more importantly, the Summer League was rocking as well. And definitely it was some great talent from all around this year's Summer League. And for my last storyline is going to be the NBA in-season tournament. So during the NBA Summer League, there was a big press conference when NBA Commissioner Adam Silver announced that there would be an NBA in-season tournament. The tournament will start on December the 3rd, and it will end on December the 9th in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. Now, let me be the first to say, if you've been listening to this show and you've heard me talk about the play-in tournament, you know that I was not a fan of the play-in tournament when the NBA first put this thing together. Quite frankly, I'm still not a fan of the NBA play-in tournament. I'm old school, and I believe that you play an 82-game regular season for a reason. I know there's load management, and they've fixed the rules up a little bit where players have to meet requirements in order to qualify for in-season awards, but I'm still not sold on the play-in tournament. The last 2 years, I'm slowly started to like it a little bit, but this in-season tournament, I'm not a fan of it at all. Here's how the 2023 NBA in-season tournament works. All 30 teams in the league will participate, playing regular season games that count toward the season standings. The knockout rounds, semifinals, and finals will be played at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So again, the knockout rounds, semifinals, and finals will be played at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So all 30 teams will take part in this new tournament. They'll play regular season games that count toward the season standings. The knockout rounds, semifinals, and finals will be played T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And again, the tournament will be from November the 3rd through December the 9th of 2023. Now, let me be the first to say, I'm looking at the dates of this tournament right here. The NBA's got a tough act to follow because you've got to remember, we're just getting into the thick of things during the NFL regular season. So it's going to be tough for the NBA. Again, I'm not a fan of this in-season tournament, and then I don't know if the NBA is desperate trying to get ratings during this time of the year because, like as I stated earlier, the NFL is really going to get into the meat of their schedule, specifically that second half of the year, and everybody's going to be football crazy during this time. So this should be interesting. But nevertheless, you have Western Conference and Eastern Conference, and it's divided into 5 pots. Let's start off with pot number 1. In the Western Conference, you have Denver, Memphis, and Sacramento. Pot number 2, Phoenix, LA Clippers, and Golden State. Pot number 3, Los Angeles, Minnesota, and New Orleans. You have pot number 4, which is Oklahoma City, Dallas, and Utah. Pot number 5, you have Portland, Houston, and San Antonio. Let's move over now to the Eastern Conference. Pot number 1, you have Milwaukee, Boston, and Philadelphia. Pot number 2, Cleveland, New York, and Brooklyn. Pot number 3, Miami, Atlanta, and Toronto. Pot number 4, Chicago, Indiana, and Washington. And then pot number 5 is Orlando, Charlotte, and Detroit. All right, so that takes care of that. Now, here are the groups that will be playing in their respective conferences. This is the draw this is the final draw. These are the results in the teams that have been separated by groups. Let's start off with the Western Conference. In Group A, it will be Memphis, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Utah, and Portland. So that's the Group A draw. Again, it's Memphis, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Utah, and Portland. So again, that's Group A for the Western Conference. I mean, this is tough. I mean, the Western Conference, all of the teams are tough, but specifically you've got Memphis, Phoenix, and the LA Lakers. Those are the 3 teams that are going to be the ones to watch for in the Group A draw. The Group B draw, you have Denver, LA Clippers, New Orleans, Dallas, and Houston. Listen, Group B, the Denver Nuggets, they're the defending champions. Hey, what more can you say about them, right? Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray. Enough said about Denver. The LA Clippers, Russell Westbrook is back. We don't know about the situation with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George going forward, but certainly the LA Clippers are a team to watch out for. Dallas is going to be better with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. It should be interesting with Houston and first-year head coach Ime Udoka. Also, a lot of young talent on that team. We shall see what happens with Houston. But the X factor is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. Listen, Zion, no Zion. The Pelicans are going to be just fine when you've got a Brandon Ingram, when you've got a C.J. McCollum, when you've got a Jonas Valanciunas, when you've got 2 defensive stalwarts with Herb Jones and Jose Alvarado. And as I mentioned earlier, C.J. McCollum as well. So New Orleans can disrupt, and I think they're going to be the X factor in the Group B draw in the Western Conference. And finally, we have the Group C draw in the Western Conference, and this is going to be a good one with Sacramento, Golden State, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, and San Antonio. Business should pick up in San Antonio with Mr. Wembanyama, who is the latest import from Paris. And then, of course, you've got a lot of young talent in San Antonio with Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson. Also, just to name a few, when you go Greg Popovich, he's definitely going to have this young roster going in with this young nucleus that he has. Also, Devin Vassell, who really stepped up his game last year. Oklahoma City Thunder is a team on the rise with Lou Dort, also Josh Giddey, a healthy Chet Holmgren, and, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Minnesota, they got 2 quality big men with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. Got rewarded with a big contract during the offseason. The Golden State Warriors, they still have their big 3 with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and also Draymond Green. Jordan Poole was traded to the Washington Wizards. Chris Paul got traded from Phoenix first to Washington, and then Washington winds up dealing them to Golden State. So this should be interesting with recent developments with the whole Draymond Green. Draymond saying that he's never been never really cared for Chris Paul, and Chris has said the feelings mutual between him and Draymond. So we shall see how that happens. But Sacramento Kings, Sacramento is a team that could make some noise in the Group C draw. They could make some noise in this in-season tournament. De'Aaron Fox is a star on his way to being a superstar. Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, a Domantas Sabonis who just signed a big contract during this offseason. Sacramento is a team that's definitely on the move, so definitely pay attention to Sacramento. And those are Groups A, B, and C draws in the Western Conference. Let's move over now to the Eastern Conference. Let's start off with the Group A draw. We have Philadelphia, Cleveland, Atlanta, Indiana, and Detroit. First things first, for Cleveland, they're going to be a team on the move. They're still very young. Donovan Mitchell, MVP candidate. Also, you got Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, Karis LeVert. Cleveland is a team that's definitely going to be feared next season. Atlanta, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, they're going to be good. John Collins was traded to the Utah Jazz. They still have Clint Capella, so Atlanta's definitely going to make some noise. Indiana and Detroit, they're teams that are young and hungry. They're teams that are still developing and still finding their identity. The Philadelphia 76ers, hey, they got Joel Embiid, right? Will they have James Harden? Will he be back? That remains to be seen. He still wants to be traded and wants out of Philadelphia. But nevertheless, it seems that as though Philadelphia is going to be the top draw in the Group A category for the Eastern Conference, but also Cleveland is going to give them a run for their money in that particular draw. Let's move over now to the Group B draw, where we have the Milwaukee Bucks, the New York Knicks, the Miami Heat, also the Washington Wizards, and the Charlotte Hornets. For the Washington Wizards, this could be payback. This could be redemption for Jordan Poole. If everything plays out very well, we'll see what happens. But Jordan, he's definitely got a lot riding on his shoulders coming over to Washington from Golden State. The Charlotte Hornets, they have a lot to be proud of, drafting Brandon Miller. Also, LaMelo Ball is going to be returning. He winds up signing his extension, so that's big for the Charlotte Hornets. The New York Knicks, this could be a step up for them in this in-season tournament. Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart. I mean, you know what's up. Obi Toppin, no longer with the New York Knicks, but the Knicks still have really much of their nucleus where they could make some noise this season, specifically in this in-season tournament. The Milwaukee Bucks, they've got a lot to play for, too. You know Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be back. He's hungry as ever. Chris Middleton, he returns to Milwaukee, signing a contract extension. Brook Lopez got his contract extension as well, so he's going to be good. So Milwaukee, they're looking to get back on track, get back to their winning and their championship ways, and it seems they're going to be pumped up and prime and ready to go for this in-season tournament. And finally, the defending Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat. No Max Strus. Max Strus is now with the Cleveland Cavaliers. No Gabe Vincent. He signed a contract with the Los Angeles Lakers, but they still have Jimmy Butler. They still have Bam Adebayo. They still have Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. Who knows? They may have Damian Lillard. Dame Dollar's been adamant about wanting to be traded to the Miami Heat, but the Portland Trailblazers are saying the Heat aren't giving us anybody worthwhile in exchange for this deal. So some strange things could happen between now and as we get closer to the in-season tournament. But Group B is going to be tough. I mean, Milwaukee, New York, and Miami are definitely the teams that could take a grab at it in the Group B draw. And finally, in the Group C draw, we have Boston, Brooklyn, Toronto, Chicago, and Orlando. First for Orlando. Orlando is a young team that's on the rise with the reigning Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero. Also, you got Franz Wagner, and then you've also got Jalen Suggs, and, of course, you have Jet Howard on the team, who is Juwan Howard's son as well. So Orlando is a team that's going to be on the rise and on the move as well. The Chicago Bulls, they re-signed their center, Nikola Vucevic, so that was big for them. So Chicago is a team, again, they're going to be on the upswing. And also DeMar DeRozan plays for the Bulls as well. You know, DeMar is going to bring it eat night in and night out. The Toronto Raptors, it's been tough for them. They lost Fred VanVleet to the Houston Rockets. He signed a big contract with the Rockets. So Toronto is kind of going through their growing pains right now. Pascal Siakam appears to be on the market. We'll see what happens with Toronto, but they're a team that's definitely looking to rebuild and reload. You've also got the Brooklyn Nets. They're always going to become competitive. And then with Mikal Bridges. You've got Mikal Bridges, who really became a rising star last year, and he's been a rising star the last several years. And then finally, you have the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum. What can you say about Jason Tatum, one of the top talents in the NBA, and Jaylen Brown, who's going to be close to signing that big Supermax extension? And then, of course, a lot of Celtic fans, including myself, very upset that the Boston Celtics got rid of their best defensive player and one of the best defenders in the league with Marcus Smart. And they wind up in that trade, in the 3-team trade involving Memphis, Boston, and Washington. The Celtics in return get Kristaps Porzingis, so hopefully that helps with the offensive side of things. Al Horford, the cagey, trusty veteran, he's coming back to bring his rebounding and his defensive experience as well as long-range shooting. So Boston is clearly going to be the odds-on favorite to make it out of the Group C draw and hopefully to continue on into the in-season tournament. And also head coach Joe Mazzulla got rewarded with a contract extension. All right, so as I stated earlier, there are 3 groups. Each conference is divided into 3 groups. Regular season games will be played on Tuesdays and Fridays between November the 3rd and November the 28th. Those games will count in the regular season standings and in the in-season tournament standings. So I'll repeat that once again. Each conference is divided into 3 groups, which is what I read earlier in both the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, Groups A and C. Regular season games will be played on Tuesdays and Fridays between November the 3rd and November the 28th, as they count in the regular season standings and in the in-season tournament standings. So, and also in the event that 2 or more teams in a group have equal records upon completion of group play, the following tiebreakers are applied in this order. Number 1, head-to-head record in the group stage. Number 2, point differential in the group stage. Number 3, total points scored in the group stage. Number 4, the regular season record from the 2022-2023 regular season. And number 5, random drawing. So again, in the event, if there is a tiebreaker that 2 or more teams in a group have equal records upon the completion of group play, the following tiebreakers are applied in this order: head-to-head record in the group stage, point differential in the group stage, total points scored in the group stage, regular season record from the 2022-2023 regular season, and random drawing. So that's how that works. So again, regular season games will be played on Tuesdays and Fridays between November the 3rd and November the 28th. And then right after the 28th, it will be knockout stage, and then, of course, the championship to determine who wins the NBA in-season tournament. Again, I'll say it before and I'll say it again. I was not a big fan of the play-in tournament. I'm not a big fan of the in-season tournament, but I get what the NBA is trying to do in terms of continue to improve the product to get people interested in this specifically. So early on in the year, as I mentioned earlier, everybody's going to be in football mode during this time of the year because the NFL's second half, the second half of the NFL regular season is going to be really kicking off and it's really going to be setting it off with a bang. So I get what the NBA is trying to do, but I don't know. We'll see how this works out. But nevertheless, this was announced by NBA Commissioner Adam Silver during the Summer League that there will be an NBA in-season tournament, and it will start November the 3rd with the championship on December the 9th. All right. We'll take a break, and when we come back from the break, I have an interview with Kayla Grey. Kayla is a SportsCentre anchor, executive producer, and host of The Shift with Kayla Grey, and sideline reporter for Toronto Raptors basketball for TSN, which is the popular sports network in Canada. We discussed the 2019 Raptors championship team. Also, we discussed Kawhi Leonard and more. Kayla is coming up after the break. I'm Ed Robinson, and you're listening to At the Rim.
Sorry.
Get on top of it before they do. Every 24 minutes, tipped furniture or a falling TV sends an injured child to the emergency room. Preventing tip-over incidents is easy, inexpensive, and only takes 5 minutes. Learn how to secure your furniture and TVs to protect children at anchorit.gov.
Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
Oh, are you in for a surprise?
You can be busy every day.
All day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
and it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org. Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
Oh, are you in for a surprise?
You can be busy every day.
All day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
And it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org.
The kids were into soccer. Now they like golf. You used to go to the office. Now you commute to your couch. The puppy was supposed to be 15 pounds. Now she's 45 and growing. Life's full of surprises. Little ones and big slobbery ones. But with Walmart and Affirm, it's easier to keep up. Shop for the things you need today. Then pay over time with no late fees or surprises. Visit walmart.com/affirm to handle whatever life throws your way next. Terms and conditions apply. Loans provided by affirm.com/lenders.
Crowd still here hoping for a miracle. Also here to cheer on. Leonard makes it official. Now the Warriors just inbound, and that's it. There's a new NBA champion, and it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We, the North, are now we, the champions. The Raptors, the 2019 NBA champs.
When we came into this thing, we traded for Kawhi and Danny and Nick Nurse. They're kind of like just stay in the moment. So y'all know Kawhi in these lines, he's very serious. And
your 2019 Bill Russell Finals MVP is Kawhi Leonard.
Oh man, just life experiences. My teammates, they did a great job of, welcoming me with open arms. The management, so they just told me to come out and play basketball. And I'm a guy that just, try to not get too high or too low. And, it worked out. I just kept working hard, and had my mind set on this goal right here. I came to a team, a new coach, that mindset was the same as mine, trying to get that Larry O.B. over there. And, this is what I play basketball for. This is what I work out for all summer during the season. And I'm happy that my hard work paid off. I'm about to enjoy this with my teammates and coaches, and I'll think about that later.
Could you have ever imagined that the streets of Lakeshore be packed like this to celebrate your championship?
No, honestly, didn't think there's that many people here. But, it seems like all 37 million or 36 million, whatever it is here right now. So this is kind of crazy and unbelievable, but it's amazing, man. So it's a great feeling. The fans support us all year, and we try to do the best we can to show as much love back to them. This is our way of trying to do that, giving it back to them.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the program. That audio that you first heard was courtesy of the NBA on ABC. Of course, that was United States television broadcaster ABC, and that was Mike Breen on the call of the Toronto Raptors when they won the 2019 NBA championship. You heard thoughts from Kyle Lowry and also Kawhi Leonard. And then also the last soundbite that you heard was courtesy of Kayla Grey and working with TSN, and that was interviewing Danny Green at the championship parade in 2019. And certainly that was a crowning achievement and a great moment for the NBA's Toronto Raptors, being one of the youngest teams in the NBA. And speaking of the Raptors, let's welcome her to the program. She is the host and the executive producer of The Shift with Kayla Grey for TSN, which is the sports network in Canada. And also she's a sideline reporter for Toronto Raptors basketball on on TSN. Let's welcome her to the program, Kayla Grey. Hey, Kayla, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. I don't know if you heard the audio, Kayla, but I was replaying some of the things that had happened during that magical 2019 season for the Toronto Raptors. And I just want to ask you, I want to start off briefly just talking about Kawhi Leonard. When the trade happened several years ago with the San Antonio Spurs, with Kawhi leaving San Antonio, coming over to the Raptors, I should say. What was that like when you found out that the Claw was making his way to Toronto for the championship season?
Yeah, I think, to give context, the franchise and, fan base were at a point where you're just feeling like steps were being made, but at not the pace that anyone was comfortable with or was trying to stay at. And, obviously with much respect to what DeMar had built, what Kyle had built also, what Dwayne Casey at the time had also built, there was a sense of like there needs to be a win now. There was just a feeling that there was just a window for this team to do something great. Then comes the summer and everyone's kind of like, okay, so maybe this is like what next year might look like. And then boom, the Kawhi trade happens. And I think, the first thing outside of winning, health was the biggest concern with Kawhi, right? Like, you had all these conversations. Was he going to be okay? How frequent were we going to see Kawhi on the court? And that sort of became the storyline. During the regular season and covering the team, it was Kawhi going to play or was Kawhi not? Did Kawhi want to be here? Did he not? And, I think we got a lot of those questions answered, and that Kawhi, while he was a Toronto Raptor, gave everything that he had to the team, and it just so happened that it paid off with an NBA championship. There is no denying when you add a Kawhi Leonard to your team, you automatically are a contender, and I think seeing that and covering that in real time was really something special.
Indeed, it was something special, and just watching it and just seeing how that season was just so magical, and that team was magical with Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry. And also, people forget about one of my favorite players on that team during that year. Fred VanVleet was outstanding as well, alongside with Pascal Siakam, just to name a few. What are some words that come to your mind when you think of that 2019 Raptors championship team?
Inspiring. And I say it from like a place of like respect, because these guys took on this characteristic, and they held it on their shoulder, and they really showed out with it as underrated. They were an underrated group. You have guys, you mentioned, Fred VanVleet, undrafted, and look what he's been able to make when it comes to the career for himself, but also like with this group and team. There was just so many people within the squad that I feel like were counted out. In ways so was Kawhi, in ways so was Kyle with his age and not being able to have DeMar on his side, and in so many ways Pascal. Like, you take this group and it was a bunch of like guys that I feel like the league overlooked and the league did not understand. Now, obviously, if you know basketball, if you know the game, you love the game, there is a level of respect that NBA players have for each other regardless. But I just felt like overall, a lot of the NBA picture did not include the Raptors when it came to strong keep. So I feel like they really took on that underrated and overlooked characteristic to a whole new level and made something incredible of it too. But, I think another word that came to mind is proven. You look at Fred that you brought up and Pascal. Not too long before, they were both with the Raptors 905 and won a championship. So, these are born winners. These are guys that know what it is to win, what it takes to win. And it was just this perfect fusion of experience, but grit, but also everything to lose, but nothing to lose at the same time. And, we know who we are. We know what our mission is, coming together to build that special championship run. And you could kind of see the remnants of a year after of that mentality really sticking with the group.
Absolutely, and there was another person that I forgot to mention. That's Marc Gasol. I mean, Marc was so important during that season, especially in the playoff run, and of course, leading into the championship. How could I forget about Marc? He was definitely effective as well. And we talk about the Raptors and what they did during that magical year, and just with Toronto being in Canada, and we've seen within the last several decades, Kayla, of the explosion of NBA players from Canada with the likes of a Jamal Murray, which we'll get into in just a little bit, but we've also seen it with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and also with Lou Dort and Chris Boucher. What is it about Canada, in your opinion, Kayla, that we're seeing this renaissance or this resurgence of NBA players coming from north of the border?
Yeah, I think, I've been around the game for a while, and, a couple of close friends that I've grown up with kind of were a part of the first leg of youth, right? The Corey Josephs, the Tristan Thompsons, the Mike Kabongos of kind of going through this pipeline system of, with Mike, St. Benedict's Prep, and then going to play for Texas, and Corey and Tristan, of course, being there too. And I really feel like that was sort of the start of Canada putting its name on the map of, hey, we're really good at this thing y'all call basketball. Matter of fact, we created it up here. But I think you then saw the seeds of that. I think what has also changed is the pipeline and path. Yeah, sure, we're seeing still numbers of guys that are having to go stateside to get a little bit of validation and to go through that pipeline system to go to D1 schools and then eventually to go pro. But there's a level of, we got this on our own and we're going to validate ourselves that's happening, which I think makes things real special, where guys are taking their summers and they're working out up here. Guys are staying in schools up here and making names for themselves or taking part in leagues that are created up here and fostered by people up here. And I think it's just sort of bred into this new attitude of we know that we are dope at this, we're good at this, we're building something special to this. And what also helps is the ways in which we're so diverse in Canada with different backgrounds. It also diversifies the learning skills, right? You're getting that European flavor up here. You're also getting, guys that are from the islands. So you're getting that little style as well. Typically, guys that you're seeing within basketball in Canada, they're not just that monolith of a basketball player. They're coming in having played, say, soccer before, baseball, football. So you're getting those different types of flavors of sport within one sport, and it's really diversifying how ball looks like up here and translating so well within the NBA and on the NBA stage. And, when you see the success, for us, a lot of us picked up a basketball because we saw Vince Carter. And Vince is even a Canadian. But that was the starting point for a lot of us. And now you look at this next generation of talent who's seeing, guys already out there, Shai, Nikhil, Jamal, Chris, and you think about, okay, that 2019 championship, how many kids are going to pick up a basketball because of that? But I'm also thinking about how many more kids are going to pick up a basketball because every time you're talking about a huge NBA storyline, there's usually a Canadian involved.
Absolutely, and you mentioned about the creation of basketball being created by a Canadian. That was Dr. James Naismith, so for those that didn't know that. So thank you for dropping that gem for us, Kayla. And a couple of more questions before we let you go. I mentioned his name, and you mentioned his name earlier, Jamal Murray, and what Jamal has done recently, becoming an NBA champion. And you mentioned that you watched his development and what he's continued to do amongst the great players coming from Canada. Did you know Jamal was the real deal before all of this had happened and taking that next steps to becoming an NBA champion?
Yeah. I think a lot of us up here knew. You think about the work that he's put in with his father. This guy was training on basketball courts with ice on them like this. Maybe out in the winter, putting out, getting in work. It's just he's just built different. What a joy it's been to kind of watch Jamal live out his dream, but also come back from injury the way that he has and come back bigger and stronger. I think that takes a certain type of character and person and training and someone that just knows themselves, knows their body, knows what they can and cannot do to then come back and play at this level where he's just unconscious. It just speaks to, I think, all of the pillars and things that build up Jamal's foundation as a human being. Just seeing what he was able to do with Denver and just the team player that he is with Denver it's not shocking, but it's nice to watch.
And indeed, it is nice to watch. And I remember watching him at the University of Kentucky and just looking at him, and I said, wow, he's going to be something in the NBA. Just give him the right time and also the right situation. And, hey, he's definitely reaping the fruits of his hard labor of becoming an NBA champion. And, Kayla, I know that you've got some things to do. And before I let you go, mental health. I've been following you for quite a while now, but I know that you've always talked about the importance of mental health. And what does mental health mean to you in terms of just making sure you take a break from just the wild and crazy business of sports broadcasting and just how to get your mind right and make sure that everything is intact the best way you can make it out to be? So how important is mental health to you in terms of just making sure everything is aligned again?
Yeah, I think that's an amazing question because I don't think it's something that we as broadcasters talk about a lot. I think for me, and also because I do have to, outside of the work, show up as a mom outside of work, I'm trying to take on this new practice of making yeses a lot harder to say than nos. Because I think, when you come from my background or you work through, an admitted old school style of thinking, which was really founded in scarcity, you just say yes to everything. You just want to hustle. You want to be out there. You want to work. You're passionate about it. But you don't realize the burnout that comes with it. For myself, traveling with the team, we're on the road a lot. I'm on a plane a lot. I'm away a lot. And then having to come back and make sure my household's together for my son. It's a lot. It's a toll. And then making sure that you're showing up at work 100% means that you're doing 100 way more hours of prepping. So I don't ever want to come into a situation that I'm not prepared. But in order for me to have those things and have those in place to show up the way that I want to show up on a professional standpoint, I need to make sure I have my toolbox set from a personal standpoint. And that looks like therapy, that looks like check-ins, that looks like saying no when I know I don't really want to be somewhere or I don't really have the time. It's saying yes to things like rest or putting down my phone or, sitting some things out, sitting out coverage of certain things if I know that doesn't really fill my spirit. I think mental health is a big thing that people need to talk about, and especially within the workforce and especially within non-traditional workforces as well. Because we don't really have an off. My life, my clock at work kind of ticks the way that the NBA's and other spaces does, right? And we're seeing now seasons carry into the entire year when it comes to stories available. You have the draft, you have Summer League coming up, free agency, all of those things, which means that there's not really a break. So you have to be so intentional about creating breaks for yourself to get back to you.
Absolutely. I mean, mental health is indeed something that's very important, especially with the way life travels. It travels at the speed of, traveling so fast and stuff. It's important to get that second or even that third win if need be so that we can be our best versions of ourselves for other people and for our respective occupations. And this was a lot of fun, Kayla. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. Just tell everybody quickly, you're the host and executive producer of The Shift for TSN and also you're a sideline reporter for the Toronto Raptors. So just tell everybody about The Shift and also what's going on over at TSN.
Yeah, I mean, for TSN, I do cover the Toronto Raptors, which is something that I love. I've been in this game for a very long time. Started being around the team when I started to sneak into practices. But, with my show, The Shift, basically we live at the intersection of sport and culture. We also help to hold space for our trauma as marginalized folk within sport. But most importantly, we have all of the space and all of the time to highlight our joys and who we are as marginalized people and how things intersect within sport. So check out The Shift _sports on Instagram, but also your social media channels. And then also myself, you can find me at Kayla_Grey with an E on Instagram and Twitter as well.
One more time, Kayla, tell everybody where they can find you on social media and any websites that you have. Let the listeners know that as well.
Yeah, so you can find me at Kayla_Grey, spelled with an E, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all of those things.
Awesome, and you heard it from her. She's Kayla Grey. She is the host and executive producer of The Shift for TSN, which is the leading sports network in Canada, and she's a sideline reporter for Toronto Raptors basketball on TSN. Kayla, thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And if ever you want to come back on, just feel free to let us know.
Will do. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Crowd still here hoping for a miracle. Also here to cheer on. Leonard makes it official. Now the Warriors just inbound, and that's it. There's a new NBA champion, and it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We, the North, are now we, the champions. The Raptors, the 2019 NBA champs.
When we came into this thing, we traded for Kawhi and Danny and Nick Nurse. They're kind of like just stay in the moment. So y'all know Kawhi in these lines. He's very serious. And
your 2019 Bill Russell Finals MVP is Kawhi Leonard.
Oh man, just life experiences. My teammates, they did a great job of, welcoming me with open arms. The management, so they just told me to come out and play basketball. And I'm a guy that just try to not get too high or too low, and it worked out. I just kept working hard, and had my mind set on this goal right here. I came to a team, a new coach. That mindset was the same as mine, trying to get that Larry O.B. over there. And this is what I play basketball for. This is what I work out for all summer during the season, and I'm happy that my hard work paid off. I'm about to enjoy this with my teammates and coaches, and I'll think about that later.
Could you have ever imagined that the streets of Lakeshore be packed like this to celebrate your championship?
No, I honestly didn't think there's that many people here. But, I mean, it seems like all 37 million or 36 million, whatever it is here right now. So this is kind of crazy and unbelievable, but it's amazing, man. It's a great feeling. The fans support us all year, and we try to do the best we can to show as much love back to them. This is our way of trying to do that, giving it back to them.
Modern life is noisy. Noise is everywhere. Excessive noise is harmful, linked to sleep deprivation, hearing loss, and heart disease. Should noise be the price we pay for progress? Actually, no. Many noise sources have quieter options. Gas-powered landscaping equipment is obsolete, with battery-powered options greatly reducing noise and air pollution. Audible car alarms are obsolete, with vehicle immobilizers and GPS tracking providing silent anti-theft technologies. Quieter backup warning sounds are available, and adjustable directional sounds are less intrusive. So what can you do to reduce noise levels? Talk to store and building managers about safe sound levels. Work with elected officials and the police to strengthen noise enforcement. Join Noise Free America, a coalition to promote quiet.
Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
Oh, are you in for a surprise?
You can be busy every day.
All day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
And it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org. Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
Oh, are you in for a surprise?
You can be busy every day.
All day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
And it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org.
Set summer in motion with the most electrifying Honda vehicles yet, like the CR-V and Accord, with available hybrid powertrains designed to deliver more thrilling performance and more innovative tech. Summer's here. Make every adventure more electrifying with Honda. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 3.9% APR on a 2023 Honda Accord Hybrid or 2023 CR-V Hybrid.
For more details, contact your Louisiana Honda dealer today.
See dealer for financing details.
All right, everybody. Once again, a big special thank you to Kayla Grey, SportsCentre anchor, executive producer, and host of The Shift with Kayla Grey, and sideline reporter for Toronto Raptors basketball for TSN. Again, a big special thank you to Kayla for giving us the full rundown of the 2019 Raptors championship team. That Toronto Raptors team was fantastic with Kawhi Leonard and Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam and Kyle Lowry, just to name a few. When we come back from the break, we'll go from a previous championship team to the current champions. That's right, the Denver Nuggets. We'll have VojaMedic on the program. Voja is the co-host of the Nuggets Serbia podcast, which airs exclusively on YouTube and serves as an occasional contributor for the Serbian Corner podcast, which is aired exclusively on the DNVR Sports YouTube channel. We discussed the Denver Nuggets NBA Finals run. We also talk Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, what's next for the Nuggets, and more. Voja is coming up after the break. I'm Ed Robinson, and you're listening to At the Rim.
Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
Oh, are you in for a surprise?
You can be busy every day.
All day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
And it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Do you hear that? That is the sound of BMW performance without a single piston or cylinder. A generation of all-electric vehicles designed and built like no other. The BMW iX, i7, and i4 revolutionized every drive into a thrilling opportunity to feel the pure rush of BMW 100% electric. But isn't that what you'd expect from the ultimate electric driving machine? Take advantage of exceptional lease and finance offers today.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Leftovers. Or the DMV.
Number 97.
Or house cleaning. Or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
As we approach a minute remaining, Nuggets clinging to a 1-point lead. Murray lobs it up top to Jokic, 5 to shoot. Jokic backs in, drives inside, layup won't go. Gordon's tip is no good. Strus the rebound. 45 seconds remaining. This is where you want to look to for one if you can, if you get a good one. Lowry picked up by Gordon. Murray is on Butler. Jimmy Butler on the drive, gets inside, stops. Stolen by Caldwell Pope. And a foul with 24.7 remaining. Inside to Butler. Gordon guards him. Duncan Robinson looking for it. Caldwell Pope pokes it away. Butler hoists up a three. Off the mark. Brown the rebound. They've got a foul, and they do. With 14.3 remaining.
You don't need a three in that situation.
Lowry searching. Looking. Finds Strus back to Lowry. There it is. Three-pointer. Won't go. Rebound Caldwell Pope. They're not going to foul. The Heat will let it play out. It's over. At last, the long wait is over. After 47 years, the Denver Nuggets can finally call themselves NBA champions. There's such joy right now in the Mile High City. The first title in franchise history. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets win it all.
47 years for the Denver Nuggets. Congratulations. You are the 2023 NBA champions. And now, the Larry O'Brien Trophy.
Mr. Kroenke, like the commissioner said, the drought is over. What does this trophy mean to this city?
Unbelievable. The fans in this town are unbelievable, as you can see, Lisa. Unbelievable. And so it means a lot to us to be able to get this done. And the fans, we couldn't have done it without them. So fantastic.
This is the first Finals MVP trophy that we're giving out since Bill Russell's passing. And he'd be incredibly pleased. It's another center. This year's Bill Russell Finals MVP goes to Nikola Jokic.
You know, as we said, really one really good thing. We are not winning for ourselves. We are winning for the guy next to us, and that's why this is even more. Because I was winning for Jamal was winning for Adrian. That's how it goes, you know. And this is a great group of people, a great group of teammates. Like I said, from the family Kroenke to the Sparky and Gene, everything this year was amazing. You know, we believe in each other, the relationship that we had. Yes, trophies and something, but I think we had some relationship that is going to be long, like even after me finish careers.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the program. That audio was courtesy of the National Basketball Association, the NBA, also ESPN, ABC Sports, and the Walt Disney Company. And you heard Mike Breen on the call of the ending of Game 5, the final moments of Game 5 of the 2023 NBA Finals as the Denver Nuggets win their first NBA championship in the 47-year history of the franchise. And then also you heard from Nuggets owner Stan Kroenke, and then you've heard Adam Silver presenting Denver Nuggets center Nikola Jokic with the Bill Russell NBA Finals MVP Award. To talk more about the Denver Nuggets NBA Finals run and amongst other things with the Nuggets, let's welcome him back to the program. He is the co-host of the Nuggets Serbia podcast, which airs exclusively on YouTube and serves as an occasional contributor for the Serbian Corner podcast, which is aired exclusively on the DNVR Sports YouTube channel. Let's welcome him back to the program, VojaMedic. Hey, Voja, welcome back to the program, my man.
Hello, Ed. How's it going? Thank you for having me again.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. So, Voja, I got to ask you this. What words come to your mind when you think of the Denver Nuggets NBA Finals run?
Dominant is number one, and just surreal and kind of filmic, I guess. But it's kind of, every time I remember, like, you were showing that audio or playing that audio, and I was just like, it gets back to you like, holy crap, they really are champions.
Absolutely, and as I mentioned earlier, again, this is the first championship in the organization's 47-year history. So Denver, they've had some great players in that organization, but it's good to see that they've put it together and got everything together with the right core to make it happen to win their first championship. And speaking of the finals run, I want to start off with somebody that was very significant in this finals run for the Nuggets, and unfortunately, he's no longer a member of the team, but Bruce Brown. What a run he had during the NBA Finals. Just give me your thoughts on Bruce and his play.
Yeah, he was great. It's interesting. I mean, he was like a sixth starter the whole year. The thing with him is what was good when they signed him was the versatility of the lineups that he provided. And he earned his, you mentioned he left for Indiana and honestly earned the contract, he earned the money. He's been kind of bouncing around from Detroit to Brooklyn and been basically on minimum deals, and he took like the biggest contract in his career was with the Nuggets, and it was only $6 million. Say only for like NBA standards, but he was very versatile, especially with Miami, how they were playing defense and how their setup was to stop the Nuggets. The Nuggets needed a third ball or a second ball handler on the guard spots, but basically a third guy on the court that can kind of dribble, penetrate, and basically break that press that Heat was throwing out there. That's why it was very important for him to be there. And it's interesting, again, like role players are really fascinating because he was less of a factor in the beginning against the Minnesota Timberwolves because they had a bigger lineups. Like, again, in the Lakers series, he was in and out. With Phoenix, he was good. But he was really like a utility guy that unfortunately left. But he had a really amazing finals run, especially the game 4 they played in Miami.
Absolutely, Voja. He really turned it up in Game 4, and certainly Bruce had a profound impact on the Nuggets during that run. He's definitely going to be missed, but as you said, it's a business, and he decided to leave. But, man, kudos to Bruce Brown for a great run for the Denver Nuggets. And somebody else that had a really good run in the finals, specifically in Game 3 in Miami, that was Christian Braun. Christian, what a rookie year for him, and especially what a last 2 years it's been for him. The year before winning the national championship at the University of Kansas, and in his rookie year winning an NBA championship. Give me your thoughts on Christian and his play during the finals.
Awesome. That's, again, because it's the NBA, especially playoffs, is all about matchups, and interestingly enough, I mean, he had really barely played in the last 3 games, or the last 2 games at least, in the conference finals, because the Lakers had a specific way to basically exploit the fact that he's inexperienced, even though he's really a sound player and a sound basketball player. But in the finals, he had his ability to break the zone. That was like a big thing in that game you mentioned when he had a big game in Game 3. Because, again, he played in college the year before, and it was kind of interesting because the NBA has less zone play, and so in college he was more fresh in playing against the zone and knowing how to attack it, and that's kind of what happened in that Game 3. He started cutting, getting through the ring, getting in the middle of that zone, and kind of basically half playmaking, which is really good for this year for him to kind of build off of. But that was, and then especially on defense, he was a really good matchup for Jimmy Butler, for other guys that were on the court. So, you said it, like, you go from NCAA title, and he was a big part of that, and then to win a title as a rookie in the NBA, but actually be a part of the rotation, because a lot of rookies do end up winning for specific teams to win titles, but rarely do they actually have significant minutes in the playoffs and up to the whole season. So it was really, really cool to see that one, too. The kid's a winner. That's basically what you got to say for him.
Absolutely. You're right about that, Voja. Indeed, he is a winner, and so far in his early career, he's definitely put up some accolades already, and certainly gone from national champion in college, I should say, to being an NBA champion. And speaking of already being an NBA champion, KCP, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, if anybody you mentioned about Christian's defense, well, KCP was one of the lockdown defenders for Denver during this NBA Finals run, especially in the last 3 games. He really showed his defensive prowess in this series. Give me your thoughts on KCP and his play.
Yeah, that's kind of what they brought him last summer was okay, he has experience, he really fits well. And again, it's interesting. Again, we're going back to matchups, going back to fit. Just how Denver is constructed, they need that type of player that is basically really economical. He can shoot really quick jumpers. He can attack off of dribble handoffs and some off of dribble, and especially play defense. And then you have the situations where he plays against Booker, and Booker's really tough to guard, but then he ends up after 4 games kind of cracking Booker and really defending him well, pressing him full court, like exhausting him. Against the Lakers, he shows up, basically shuts down some of their guard play. And then for the Heat, especially because Heat they have a really complex offense, and Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin were really going off against the Celtics, and KCP basically stepped up and shut down their point of attack there because Gordon was guarding Jimmy Butler, and so he was really responsible for subduing Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin, whichever he would be on, and that was a big thing too, to like kind of cut off their 3-point shooting, and that's what he did. And again, like really, I mean, it's the second title. Really happy for him to get to celebrate this one because when he won it with the Lakers, it was pandemic, so they didn't have a parade, so he didn't really celebrate. So now he kind of got his 2-for-1 celebration for this one. So it's really cool to see him win this one too.
Absolutely. And KCP, again, as you stated earlier, Voja, what we talked about, just an underrated defender, and certainly he brought that championship experience to Denver, having won one during the bubble with the LA Lakers. And like you said, he's definitely enjoying the fruits of his labor with the celebration indeed. And a person that has enjoyed the fruits of his labor with a long NBA career and still going strong, and that's Jeff Green, affectionately known as Uncle Jeff. Jeff, someone that brought the veteran leadership. Again, Jeff, no longer a member of the Denver Nuggets, signed the contract, a 1-year deal with the Houston Rockets, but Jeff's still a big important part of that finals run for Denver. Give me your thoughts on Jeff and his play.
He was important. I mean, he was basically the 8th guy. He and Christian Brown, depending on the matchups. He wasn't. I got to say, like, I mean, it's great. They won. I have to say, he wasn't the best in the playoffs. Like, he had really interesting moments and had some couple of big shots in like certain moments, just to kind of at least like add some points to. It's tricky again. He's really, like, as you said, like, he's older. Some of the stuff, even against the Heat, he wasn't, for me at least, he wasn't as great as he was, like, obviously years ago. But he didn't make too many mistakes to, again, because you're 8th player, you don't expect an 8th player or 7th player in your rotation to be, like, contributing the same as your starters. So as long as it wasn't, like, catastrophic, that's good for any teams. But, yeah, basically his leadership for all these couple of years in the Nuggets was really great. Like, he knows what to do out there. And the fact is, again, he left. He got offered, again, it's kind of, when you win a championship, a lot of it's like winning an Oscar in acting. Like your salary kind of goes up because of the pedigree. And so he left for Houston, which they're in need of veteran players. And especially, I think he has a relationship with Ime Udoka as a coach, because Udoka was a assistant in Brooklyn when Jeff Green was there. So I think that's also a connection. And they paid him decently more than Nuggets could afford. And so now they have a veteran presence of him in the young core in Houston. And he also used to play for Houston, so I believe he also probably has already established relationships over there. So really cool for him too to get that at the end of his career. But again, really contributed well. He was someone you can count on, and at least Malone thought so when he played him throughout the whole playoffs. And that's basically all you can need. Like, basically for me, the best moment for him was against the Lakers, I believe Game 3, where Aaron Gordon was actually quote unquote benched at the end of the game because they needed to spread the floor, and Jeff Green hit a really big 3 in the corner to basically provide the punishment for Lakers overhelping on Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic pick and roll. So that's kind of for him. And again, really, he earned it, like, for all these years and the open heart surgery and everything. Really happy that he got to be a part of a championship run.
I'm happy too as well, Voja, and especially you mentioned about the open heart surgery that he had some time ago when he was a member of the Boston Celtics, and we didn't know if he was going to be able to play in the NBA again, let alone live again and have a normal life. But, man, I'm so happy for Jeff getting an NBA championship, and, of course, he's going to be moving on to the Houston Rockets. And speaking of somebody that earned their first NBA championship is someone that has been experienced and someone that's been through the line of fire throughout his career for quite some time, DeAndre Jordan. Now, Voja, I know DeAndre is similar to Jeff in terms of not necessarily being a presence on the court, but definitely being an emotional leader and someone just being a vocal leader in terms of experience. Just kind of give me your thoughts on DeAndre and his NBA Finals run and finally getting that first championship.
Yeah, you mentioned. I mean, the thing is, what changed with the Nuggets from previous years and this year is they kind of had the layer of first, second, third stringers they all knew they were professional and knew what the goal was and sacrificed their egos. The thing with Jordan, he played at the beginning of the season. He got the opportunity for the Nuggets to see if he's able to be out there or at least like how the lineups could work with him or don't work with him. It wasn't great. I mean, he has a specific type of play that he can do now. Nuggets don't have really lineups for him to kind of mask that he is like his age or like lack of speed that he used to have on the defensive end. And he accepted that, and that's the big thing is that they held all these veterans, including Jeff at certain times of the year where he wasn't playing. They all knew what the goal was, and they were all supportive of the younger guys and the starters like they were playing. And so with Jordan, he was surprisingly, again, like the Nuggets Nation, like he was someone that was actually like really not as well liked. He had situations with Jokic where he actually would hit him on the court, and it wasn't really like we didn't think that they would like each other or they would like each other, and end up being like really opposite. Like he was really great for the locker room. He was great in celebration with like everyone, and really cool for him as well. Like he actually played a couple of minutes in the final game when Nuggets got into the foul trouble, especially Jokic and Gordon. He got into the game, and the style of play that he played really was conducive to Jordan actually contributing. So he had a really good block. He had some rebounds. So even his minutes on the court in the last game actually were important and contributed to that game remaining close in the first half. So that was really awesome. And then again, like as you said, like first title for him as well. Really, really cool that you have to see a bunch of these veterans getting their chance at a ring. So yeah.
Absolutely. And again, congratulations not only to Jeff, but also congratulations to DeAndre on finally getting over that hump and winning their first NBA championships. I want to talk now about MPJ, Michael Porter Jr. Michael had a rough series. I mean, a lot of people got on him, but Game 5, the clinching game, the closing game, this is where he stepped up and made some big shots. And I guess this was kind of like, I guess you could say this was redemption. This was his redemption game because people were waiting for him to have that game in that series, and he didn't have it until Game 5. And, of course, we know about MPJ's career with the 3 back surgeries in 5 years. It's been a rough going for him, but, hey, it's definitely the hard work has paid off, getting him his first NBA championship. Give me your thoughts on Michael and his finals run.
I'm on the always with him. Well, not always. At least these playoffs in this season. Thing is with him is interesting. Which someone told us a few years ago that he would be shooting this poorly in the finals, and would actually be a positive factor on the court. We wouldn't believe it because the thing that got him into the lineup was the fact that he could shoot and that he can punish a lot of defenses because of the focus that Jokic and Murray required. The thing what happened in these finals, and even in the previous series with the Lakers, which he had a better offensive output there, but the point with him was he wasn't a target on defense. He was actually probably the second best defender on Jimmy Butler on some of the switches because of his size. And the fact that he was rebounding, the irony is, like, when you look at his numbers, he actually had a really, really good playoffs. More rebounds than Aaron Gordon, I think more points than Aaron Gordon. Bruce Brown rebounds as well. And so it's kind of funny because of it's the last series that everyone remembers because of his lack of shooting. People assume like he had a bad playoffs and even a bad series with the Heat because of everyone knows, oh, he's a shooter, and if he doesn't shoot well, everything else kind of gets forgotten. That last game was the epitome. That was the pinnacle, obviously, the best game of the series for him. And he had a double-double at the half. Like, he was really attacking, aggressive. He didn't get down on himself because he missed shots. And then and everyone was telling him to actually take shots. It doesn't matter if you're 3 of 20 or whatever he was at some point. Just take shots. And he ends up hitting a really big three at the tie score, 66-66 in the third quarter. And you see, like, no one was actually opposed to that shot being taken. A few years ago, when there was maybe a little bit of less trust, that's a shot where everyone would kind of, raise their arms like, oh, no, don't do it. And then if he hits, like, oh, well, that's good. Like, in this case, he just shot it. Everyone was like, oh, great. He made it. Let's go. We were expecting this to go down at some point. So I think, like, it was really, again, hard work pays off. I'm expecting him to be better and to not have a situation like this to kind of start missing this much next year. But again, he's a few years younger, and with all the surgeries, he's behind Jokic and Murray in his development. So I believe next year would be his year to kind of step up and be on that like definitive third best player on the team, maybe in some cases second best player on the team.
Absolutely, and definitely, as I stated earlier, Game 5 was his redemption game, and like you said, Voja, definitely his defense really stepped up, playing tight on Jimmy Butler, and hopefully next year will be the year where we really see MPJ really make strides. And speaking of making strides, 2 years ago, Denver really struck gold in the trade deadline in acquiring Aaron Gordon from the Orlando Magic. And Aaron, he was sensational in this series, not just on the defensive side and not just getting rebounds, but his outside shooting was amazing. And he definitely really turned it up. And he was really the X factor for the Denver Nuggets in this finals run. Give me your thoughts on Aaron and his play.
Yeah, you said, they struck gold a couple years ago when they got him. He changed his entire role on the team from Orlando. The fact that he guarded like so many of the main guys throughout the playoffs, like he was on Devin Booker, he was on Kevin Durant, he was on LeBron James. He even had Anthony Davis in a lot of minutes because he not only was playing with the starters and doing his thing, he actually was their essentially non-Jokic center. When Jokic was on the bench, he would be the center in that small ball second unit. So he guarded Gobert, Towns. He was battling with those guys on the boards. Ayton, so he was all around on the defensive end. He accepted that role and really earned to be honestly to be remembered as a Nugget when he retires. Even though he's been in Orlando for more years now, or like he probably will be in the Nuggets for a lot more years, even after this contract expires probably. Shooting, offense, it kind of got through in Lakers in Game 4. He had a bad Game 3. He was kind of shaken. Then he kind of let it loose in Game 4, scored over 20 points in that game. And then he had that game with Bruce Brown in Game 4 against the Heat where they were all focused on stopping Jokic and Murray, and it was who else is going to step up, and he was the one that Miami chose to let test if he was going to step up, and he actually did, and it was really good. Again, he's really a good guy. Like, he really, we call him Mr. Nugget because of how he interacts with fans, how he interacts with the media, like how he supports everyone, and the stuff that he talks about. Like, it's really impressive. Last year he said, I want to play smarter, I want to play smarter. I want to improve my IQ over last summer and learn how to play best with this team and improve my intelligence. And he showed it. The stuff that he was doing was really on like high basketball level and IQ, and he eliminated basically eliminated bad shots, bad possessions on the court. He was really efficient. He was self-confident. Like, he was really, really cool to see again. Like, really a fun run for everyone.
Indeed, it was a fun run for everybody, and certainly Aaron paid off big dividends in this finals run, and especially kudos to Calvin Booth and the management with the Nuggets for getting Aaron and bringing him to the Mile High City, and hey, it paid off with getting him an NBA championship. And speaking of paying off big dividends in order to get an NBA championship, Jamal Murray. You know, Voja, I told a lot of people when Jamal was drafted, right out of the University of Kentucky, I was like, Jamal is going to be something special. Just give him a little time, and he's definitely going to light it up. And we saw flashes of it right before the bubble. And then when the bubble had happened, we really saw Jamal come into full swing. And then we were waiting for big things to happen. He gets hurt, tear his ACL, done for the year, and then he just comes back. And you know, we heard Coach Michael Malone talk about his relationship with Jamal Murray and how they're very close. And we saw Jamal come alive in this series. And, I mean, just from start to finish, he was sensational. Give me your thoughts on Jamal and his run.
Yeah, I mean, you said this was the biggest question marks for this playoffs. And not in, like, everyone doubts it, more in let's see what they can do because of the injuries was, number one was Jamal Murray. Number two was probably Michael Malone, because this is the first time he has a complete to work with for the playoffs. So you never know if someone is a championship coach or someone is a championship player until it happens, until they're put in the position to be that. And the way Jamal stepped up, it's not, oh, it's the bubble Murray, like, oh, he's gonna hit a lot of shots and it's gonna be incredible shot making. Like, his improvement on the playmaking level was exceptional. The fact that you let Jokic was in one of the, I don't know if there was the biggest favorite to lead the finals in assists than Jokic was this year. He was, I think, minus 20,000 in odds to lead the finals in the assists, and Jamal Murray ends up leading the finals in the assists because of how Miami Heat was playing and trying to actually subtract the Jokic assisting from the game plan. And what Jamal did was actually step up on the really incredible playmaking level, and that's something that's, for me, was more impressive than the points and the shot making, because we saw that he can do that, and that's relatively okay, he bounces off of Nikola when Nikola is really good. He gets a lot of open shots and he can do these tough shot making. But the fact that he averaged over 10 assists, he had one game that he didn't have 10 assists in these finals, and it was the last game because of just everyone was missing everything, and it was really incredible. I mean, just an incredible level of elevation for him as a basketball player. And Jokic said at one point, because of the injury, he believes that Jamal had to learn essentially to kind of effectively use everything on the court, because he isn't as fast as he was before the injury. He probably will be next year because it takes a bit of time to recuperate. But right now, the year after the 2-year break, essentially, from the ACL, he didn't have the same burst. He didn't have the same athleticism they had in the bubble, so he had to learn how to use the court differently. Again, which turned out to be, now he was better than he was in the bubble, even though maybe he averaged a similar amount of points, but the amount of assisting was just next level. Like that, without him elevating that point guard level, they wouldn't have won the title.
Yeah, rightfully so. And again, Jamal Murray, as you said, Voja, he was great this year, but as you said, when he gets that boost back, he's going to be even better next year, man. And certainly Jamal had a series for the ages from start to finish, and certainly we know what his abilities are. He's going to continue to shine, and hopefully, as you said, next year is going to be even bigger and even better for him. And speaking of bigger and better, I mean, the Denver Nuggets, again, they struck gold again, getting bigger and better from your homeland in Serbia, Nikola Jokic, the Bill Russell NBA Finals MVP. Also, he's a 2-time league MVP. Listen, the stats speak for itself. A walking triple-double. The man was phenomenal in this finals run. Give me your thoughts on Nikola and his play.
It's really, you said. I mean, it's really hard even to explain like how good he is. The fact that everyone was struggling in that final game, in the game 5 of the finals, and he ends up shooting. I think it was a 12 of 16 or 12 of 14, and scoring 28 points in a 94-89 victory for the Nuggets is just, it's unbelievable. The consistency that he has, the metronome style of play, where you can count on him. That we describe him usually either as water, as flowing water, because he can just adapt to wherever the cracks are in the defense. He will go into that like water, and throughout his career, he's been like a goldfish. And if you increase his aquarium, he will grow proportionally. So the more usage he gets, the better, the bigger the numbers they get. Like it really is crazy to think that he had this type of a season in the NBA in the regular season, and then you increased his minutes for the playoffs, and the production just increased based on the minutes. He's one of the rare players that when they do the per 36 minutes or per 100 possessions, or per 75 possessions, that scale is actually proportional, because you have some players that are like, okay, they play 20 minutes, they score a certain amount of points. When you scale up to 36 minutes in the calculations, that's like 35 a game. It gets really absurd for some. They're not going to be scoring that much or producing that much in the per 36. And Jokic is the one player where you're like, oh yeah, that's actually his numbers, because we see it in the playoffs. If he plays 30 minutes in the regular season a game, he'll have 27 or 25, 10 or 11 rebounds or 10 rebounds and 9 assists. In the playoffs, he's playing 40 minutes a game. He'll increase that to 30-something points, 12 rebounds or 13 rebounds and like 10 assists. And it's really crazy just how consistent he is, how in shape he is, and the different ways he was destroying opponents every series. Minnesota, he had 2 big guys that he would actually pull out of the paint and attack him off the dribble and attack him off the jumpers. Against the Suns, his shot chart was basically just layups and occasional 3 when he gets open. Against the Lakers, he was running. Like, he made Anthony Davis chase him around the court, got into his body, made the Lakers actually take off Anthony Davis off of him and play someone else on defense, get LeBron, get some more physical body on Jokic, because Davis couldn't keep up. And in the finals, it was okay, they're going to play zone, and if they don't play zone, I'm going to go inside. To play zone, we're going to destroy them with passing and some shot making. And again, it's just hard to, we can talk about him forever, the stuff that he does. There's a reason why his highlight packages for the playoffs are an hour long. There's so many things he does on the court that are also you can notice, and then some things you can notice on the third watch of a game, and you're like, oh wow, he did that little thing that was actually very important for the whole game plan, and he's the best player in the world.
Yeah, Nikola is just phenomenal, man. I guess we talked about Jamal Murray, about it's going to be even bigger and better for him next year, man. Nikola Jokic, I mean, wow. I can't wait to find out what next year is going to be like for him. And I want to stay just with Nikola for a moment. I've been seeing some pictures and videos of him really enjoying himself since he's been back home in Serbia. Voja, I want to ask you, what have been the celebrations like for him back in Serbia, specifically in Sombor?
Well, the thing is, I'm not even sure that that's anything different than his actual summers. Because he likes that fun, he likes to go, spend time with his family. And most of those pictures that you see is usually surrounded by his close friends and his family. So the difference being is that now, because of the title and because he's getting more and more famous as a basketball player, you see more pictures and videos. I believe very similarly, he had these situations of celebrations and having fun years ago. It just, again, we didn't see as much because he wasn't on the top of the basketball world. So I think it's just kind of his life. The Sombor is a really small town, really tight-knit community there too, and people know him for way before he was the Nikola Jokic from, the NBA MVP. So when he goes there, it's kind of just like you go back to, it's like when they talk about LeBron going back to Akron, like kind of everyone knows him and they act like he's not he's one of the people there, not like, that's LeBron James, one of the best ever. It's like, it's LeBron James, our guy. And so the celebrations are more like, a part of the community, and just, again, like there's parties and stuff like in every town. Like, it's just that we see it more now because of the social media era and everything. But I think that's his like regular lifestyle, and like everyone else, like, it's a weekend, let's go out and have some fun. So I don't think it's anything specifically bigger than it would be any other summer.
Well, certainly, I'll tell you one thing, Voja, as they say, to the victor goes the spoils, and certainly Nikola is definitely, he's the victor, and he's definitely enjoying all of the spoils so far in this offseason. And I want to stay just with Nikola and his comrade Jamal for a moment. We've seen a lot of great duos throughout the history of the NBA. How great can the duo of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray can be? Because we've seen these two gentlemen and the damage that they did during this NBA Finals series, but specifically becoming the first two players in one game to have a triple-double. And how great, in your opinion, can the duo of Jokic and Murray be for years to come?
I don't even know what the limit is for them, because I'm not sure I've seen a duo this connected. And especially because, again, it's one of those like the Stockton Malone situations where it's a point guard and a center. So naturally, those two positions work well together, and because of the pick and roll actions and that part. But these two are just on another level because of both of them can do everything. And Jamal, it's ironic that he learned some center skills when he was a younger guy. Jokic learned some point guard skills when he was a younger guy. And so they just can do anything. I go back to one of my favorite moments of the playoffs was the Game 3 against the Lakers, where they did a play where it was like Jamal is just going to screen for Nikola, and because he had Schroeder on him, and Schroeder's a smaller guy than Jamal, and they're like, okay, Davis is on Jokic, we're going to get him out of the paint, you're going to screen Davis, and you're going to be left alone with Schroeder on an empty side, basically backing down a smaller guard. And it worked, and then they just started repeating it. And that was one of those things, like, they just pulled out in the playoffs for the first time for so many possessions in a row, where it made sense. Okay, Jokic's going to dribble the ball, he can pass out of that pick and roll, and Jamal is going to screen for him, and they're going to do this inverted pick and roll with the point guard screening the center and center passing the ball. And that's not something that we've seen often. I mean, maybe we've seen a possession or two from like other combos in the history, but this level of skill, all-around skill from both of these guys, we might see one of the best duos ever if they keep going like this. And end up, basically now it's all about like, if they win multiple titles together. Because right now in the modern era, it's Draymond and Steph based on that connectivity. The difference is that both Jokic and Jamal, again, as I say, all-around offensive players. So I don't think there's really a thing you can do if they're on this high of a level, if they're really fully healthy and playing, we've seen, you said it twice, 2 triple-doubles in the same game was just incredible, and they were just all over the place. No one could really touch them the whole playoffs. No one really managed to stop them. And that's why I think like Nuggets are a favorite again, and a lot of teams can do a lot of stuff in the free agency, but unless you figure out a way to stop Jamal and Jokic pick and roll, it's really just a matter of how you're going to lose.
You're absolutely right about that. And these two were so dynamic, especially during this NBA Finals run. And, man, I don't know if the sky is the limit, but definitely these two, they can go so far, as long as they stay healthy and can make things happen, Nikola and Jamal can definitely become a great duo, one of the greatest duos in the history of the NBA if they can be healthy and you can keep those two together in Denver for an extensive period of time. And speaking of, I mentioned his name earlier in regards to Jamal Murray and as well as Nikola Jokic as well. Head coach Michael Malone. Coach Malone started his head coaching career with the Sacramento Kings. He was fired, and the Denver Nuggets hired him, and they Stan Kroenke and management with the Nuggets, they were patient with him, and, hey, patience paid off to get an NBA championship. And what a job head coach Malone has done since he's been in Denver. Just give me your thoughts on Coach Malone and what he's done with the Nuggets so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's cemented himself as the greatest coach in Nuggets history. I mean, and I want to say probably, but at this point, pretty safe to say because he has the most playoff wins, or he's really close to. He's the third on all-time wins list. Now he won the championship, which is the most important thing, especially for a franchise that never had it before. The thing that he was impressed me in these playoffs is the readiness the team had. They were prepared for any opponent. They were confident in themselves. He actually really is a vocal leader. It's kind of funny, like, unorthodox superstar, unorthodox situation. Jokic is such a Tim Duncan type of player, and he's the big foundation of the whole team, and nothing would work without him. But then he's not your guy that's gonna he improved his vocal leadership, especially with the second language this year particularly. But Malone is the guy that's going to come out of the press conference and basically trash talk the Lakers after the first game. And it's an unorthodox situation because coaches usually don't do that. But he recognized the void in his team, that they needed someone that is going to basically absorb the spotlight of all the ancillary things in the NBA that a lot of guys don't care about, that Jamal doesn't care about, that Jokic doesn't care about. And so just basically that's my belief, to spare them of being like exposed to a lot of stuff that they don't really care about the NBA. Malone is kind of absorbing that part, like the celebrations, the speeches at the parade, like that kind of stuff isn't what Jamal and Jokic and all the guys are that like keen to do. And so Malone will be like, okay, I'm going to shield my guys from scrutiny in that perspective. I'm going to speak at the parade and basically be the voice of the team. And that's not something we're used to in the NBA because of just the player empowerment, the movement of coaches. Very often we've seen the Bucks fire their coach a few years after they win a title. And so it's really fascinating to see like that dynamic. And now he kind of cemented himself as the Nuggets coach for the foreseeable future. And from the basketball perspective, he was really incredible. Again, how they prepared, how they scouted teams. They knew exactly each series. They started off incredibly well in the first games. They really got easy wins at the beginning of each series, and they kind of threw the first punch every time against any team. And whenever they would lose or something wouldn't work, he knew exactly what buttons to push with his team and how to prepare, how to respond. The adjustments, a lot of times people think adjustments come from changing which players are on the court. And when in reality, a lot of adjustments are first made with the players that you already have in rotation, but schematically some stuff on the court that happens. And he actually did a lot of that, especially in the Phoenix series, was a big thing because of the offensive potency of that team. And so defensively, how they were ready, how they responded, how they adjusted, rotation schemes, plans, like everything was really on point. And eventually just let his players play too. Like that was really, really cool to see. So really impressive job for him. As I said, he was the guy that also was under the microscope for this playoff run. And if Nuggets didn't do this or failed really earlier, who knows what then would have happened with him as his head coaching position. But now he kind of silenced everyone that possibly doubted him.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, kudos to Coach Malone on getting his first NBA championship. And you mentioned it, Voja, the people that doubted him. He had a chance in Sacramento. It didn't work out. The exit was premature, but he was able to redeem himself in Denver. And, hey, they were patient with him and got the talent with Nikola, Jamal, and company, and they win an NBA championship. So now Denver is no longer the hunter. They're now the hunted. So what's next for the Nuggets, in your opinion, Voja? Do we see back-to-back championships, or do we see maybe 2 titles in 3 years, 4 years? What's going to be next for the Nuggets in terms of not just trying to win another NBA championship, but just the competition that's going to get ferocious in the NBA, especially in the Western Conference?
It's going to be really fascinating because it's hard to repeat anything, especially these professional sports. Again, with Bruce Brown staying, I would have had I would have been really more bullish on the Nuggets repeat and even three-peat if he stayed, because of, again, it's really, again, with kind of how fits work, Bruce Brown is going to be missed in Denver more than probably he's going to produce for someone else. Again, because of his stats, when you look at it, it's not, he's getting paid $20 million a year. Usually those guys are your 17, 18-point players per game and stuff like that. But he was really a perfect fit because of the versatility that he provided and options in lineups that he provided because of his movability throughout the lineups. So if he stayed, I would have been more sure. The thing is now, like everything else, there's questions. Nuggets are banking on development because they have their starting lineup taken care of for a few years. So a lot of money is a lot like it should be in the NBA. You go into the guys that play the most minutes. Christian Braun he obviously is coming back. He's on a second year. He's projected to obviously improve. The finals was very encouraging, not just in defensively, but offensively, the stuff that he was doing, that now he's going to have a surefire rotation spot that he can relax a bit, let loose in his game. Again, this year he's been on the edge of rotation, so a lot of it was let's not make a mistake out there. So that's the only way to play defense and not make mistakes. He's going to have to continue to do that, but again, because of the sure minutes that he's probably going to get, he can relax and play offensively. Michael Porter is the one that I'm looking at as if he improves to the level that I think he can, especially with another healthy summer, he can basically negate whatever we lost with Bruce leaving. Michael Porter can make up if he steps up further in his development. But again, it's really also fascinating from around the league. Like Nuggets won, but it's still a lot of people still don't believe in it, even though they really ran through the NBA because the Miami Heat was in the finals, and they don't respect the Heat as much because they're a playing team. Lakers were a playing team, and so a lot of people still are in denial that Nuggets are really good. So it's really going to be fascinating to see how teams respond, and if they believe. Like Suns are now all of a sudden again thought of as the number one contender because of Bradley Beal trade and some of the free agency moves that they made, and the fact that Nuggets didn't do anything specifically because they already had their players taken care of. A lot of people conflate that with, they didn't do anything, so which means that they got worse, which I don't personally believe because we've talked about Jokic and Jamal, and that's what you're looking at in the starting lineup. So again, it's going to be really interesting. Again, you said hunted and hunter. We'll even see how the rest of the league, if they still sleep on the Nuggets, that might actually bode well for the Nuggets. But I believe they're ready. I think they'll usually, when you cross that threshold of the first title, I think you gain more confidence, and I think they might come out and you kind of you familiarize with yourself and what you're capable of. You understand what you're capable of once you win that, and I believe that they will really come out really, really well. Kind of like the Golden State did the year after they won the title.
Absolutely, and it's great words from you, Voja, and you heard it from him. He's VojaMedic. He is the co-host of the Nuggets Serbia podcast, which airs exclusively on YouTube, and he serves as an occasional contributor for the Serbian Corner podcast, which is aired exclusively on the DNVR Sports YouTube channel. Voja, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. Just tell everybody what's going on over at Nuggets Serbia.
But yeah, thank you for having me again. It was really great talking to you. As far as Nuggets Serbia, for anyone that speaks Serbian and likes to listen to about the NBA in Serbian, it's Nuggets Serbia on YouTube. We do weekly shows basically around what's happening in the league, mostly focused on the Nuggets, but again expanding in everything.
All right, Voja, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, as well as also Nuggets Serbia and any websites. Let them know that as well.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at VojaMedic, MEDIC, and again, Nuggets Serbia is on all of those platforms as well. Just Nuggets SRBIJA, Serbia and Serbian. So yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. Before I let you go, Voja, I've got to ask you a lighthearted question. The last time I had you on the program, we were talking about Serbian cuisine, and I asked you about some of the wonderful food that comes from your native homeland of Serbia. I was doing my research on something, and I want to ask you, can you explain to the listeners what pljeskavica is?
Oh, yeah. So that's basically a burger. It's just that ground meat, but a lot of times prepared with some different spices inside, rolled up with onions, and then a lot of times when it's the best, it's from different meats put together: beef, lamb, pork, like that kind of combination, and then usually grilled on charcoal for that extra flavor. So that's one of those, like the gourmet barbecue that Serbia is famous for. Usually you can we like it on it's called kajmak, is like a dairy product. It's basically that skim on top of the milk that forms when the milk is hot. So you collect that and salt it and make it into like a cheesy spread. So that on top of the burger is something that is really popular over there.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation. And you heard it from him. He is VojaMedic, co-host of the Nuggets Serbia podcast, which airs exclusively on YouTube. So check them out and check what they bring to the table in terms of all your NBA information, specifically with the Denver Nuggets from a Serbian perspective. Voja, again, this was a lot of fun. Thank you again. If ever you want to come back on, feel free to let us know.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ed. Have a good one.
You too. We'll be back with more right after this.
As we approach a minute remaining, Nuggets clinging to a 1-point lead. Murray lobs it up top to Jokic, 5 to shoot. Jokic backs in, drives inside, layup won't go. Gordon's tip is no good. Strus the rebound. 45 seconds remaining.
And this is where you want to look to for one if you can, if you get a good one.
Lowry picked up by Gordon. Murray is on Butler. Jimmy Butler on the drive, gets inside, stops. Stolen by Caldwell Pope. And a foul with 24.7 remaining. Inside to Butler. Gordon guards him. Duncan Robinson looking for it. Caldwell Pope pokes it away. Butler hoists up a three. Off the mark. Brown the rebound. They've got a foul, and they do. With 14.3 remaining.
You don't need a three in that situation.
Lowry searching. Looking. Finds Strus back to Lowry. There it is. Three-pointer. Won't go. Rebound Caldwell Pope. They're not going to foul. The Heat will let it play out. It's over. At last, the long wait is over. After 47 years, the Denver Nuggets can finally call themselves NBA champions. There's such joy right now in the Mile High City. The first title in franchise history. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets win it all.
This is the first Finals MVP trophy that we're giving out since Bill Russell's passing. And he'd be incredibly pleased. It's another center. This year's Bill Russell Finals MVP goes to Nikola Jokic.
You know, as we said, really one really good thing. We are not winning for ourselves. We are winning for the guy next to us, and that's why this is even more. Because I was winning for Jamal was winning for Adrian. That's how it goes, you know. And this is a great group of people, a great group of teammates. Like I said, from the family Kroenke to the Sparky and Gene, everything this year was amazing. You know, we believe in each other, the relationship that we had. Yes, trophies and something, but I think we had some relationship that is going to be long, like even after we finish careers.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details. With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
When it comes to our children and families, we do everything we can to play it safe. Did you know? The single best way to help safeguard from flu and reduce the spread of the flu virus is through annual vaccination. Families Fighting Flu is devoted to protecting your family against this serious and potentially deadly disease. Our commitment comes from our organization's personal experiences. I lost my 5-year-old healthy son Joseph to the flu. The flu poses a serious risk to everyone, from the young to the elderly. But we know that flu vaccines can save lives. Increasing the number of flu vaccinations by just 5% could prevent nearly 800,000 illnesses and 10,000 hospitalizations. Help keep your family and your community safe. Together, we can fight the flu. Get yourself and your family vaccinated this year and every year. For facts and tools, visit familiesfightingflu.org.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
All right, everybody. Once again, a big special thank you to VojaMedic, co-host of the Nugget Serbia podcast, which airs exclusively on YouTube and serves as an occasional contributor for the Serbian Corner podcast, which is aired exclusively on the DNVR Sports YouTube channel. Again, a big special thank you to Voja for coming on the program and talking about the recent successes of the Denver Nuggets winning the NBA championship. All right. let's get now to the current in the summer league. The San Antonio Spurs, they drafted the number 1 overall pick, VictorWembanyama, and CarolinaTeague was there to cover it all. When we come back from the break, we'll talk to Carolina. She's the host of the League of Her Own podcast. We discussed the Spurs drafting VictorWembanyama, also the atmosphere surrounding him at Summer League, and much more. Carolina is coming up after the break. I'm Ed Robinson, and you're listening to At the Rim.
With the first pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select.
Modern life is noisy. Noise is everywhere. Excessive noise is harmful, linked to sleep deprivation, hearing loss, and heart disease. Should noise be the price we pay for progress? Actually, no. Many noise sources have quieter options. Gas-powered landscaping equipment is obsolete, with battery-powered options greatly reducing noise and air pollution. Audible car alarms are obsolete, with vehicle immobilizers and GPS tracking providing silent anti-theft technologies. Quieter backup warning sounds are available, and adjustable directional sounds are less intrusive. So what can you do to reduce noise levels? Talk to store and building managers about safe sound levels. Work with elected officials and the police to strengthen noise enforcement. Join Noise Free America, a coalition to promote quiet.
With the first pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select VictorWembanyama from Nanterre, France.
It's just accomplishing something that I've been dreaming of, my whole life. Hearing that sentence from Adam Silver, I've dreamed of it so much that, I gotta cry,
5 on the shot clock. That 3 is long, and Brandon with the board. Good pace to this game. Nice rim run by Wembanyama, and 1, and there it is. Wembanyama with the midi. Knocks it home, laces the 2-ball. Wembanyama on the wing, goes through the legs. Well, all right. Wesley behind the Barlow screen. Little midi comes off. Wemby, okay now. Now you're showing me something special. Wemby with the tip to himself and the flush. Little pitch back from Barlow. Wemby for 3. Butter.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the program. That audio was courtesy of ESPN and the Walt Disney Company. That first audio bit that you heard was NBA Commissioner Adam Silver making the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 NBA Draft. Of course, that pick belonged to the San Antonio Spurs as they selected center VictorWembanyama out of France. And then those last 2 sound bites that you heard was Mark Jones, of course, announcing Victor's first 2 NBA Summer League games during this year. And I got to tell you, Victor's first game, he only scored 9 points, but he definitely made up for it in the second game where he would have 27 points to go along with 12 rebounds and 3 block shots. And let's welcome her to the program. She is the host of the League of Her Own podcast, and she's also a writer for Sports as Told by a Girl, and also she's a ring announcer for RCW River City Wrestling, which is based out of San Antonio, Texas, and also she covers the San Antonio Spurs when she's not doing other things as well. Let's welcome her back to the program. Always great as always, CarolinaTeague. Hey, Carolina, welcome back to the program.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Same here. It's always a pleasure having you on the program. And as always, thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program. So let's get right to it. So the future is here for the San Antonio Spurs. They drafted VictorWembanyama as the number 1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft, the 2023 NBA draft. Give me your thoughts on the Spurs drafting Victor and just what's the vision for him coming to San Antonio with the Spurs making that pick?
it didn't surprise me that the San Antonio Spurs were going to pick VictorWembanyama. They had been speaking about it silently last year, even when their season was quote-unquote purposefully tanking. So, once they got the number one pick, it was obvious that they were going to get Wemby. The entire city was pretty much going crazy when they got selected to get the number one lottery pick. Not to mention, if they weren't going to pick Wemby, the entire city would have shut down just in anger because they didn't pick Wemby. Wemby ends up getting selected by the San Antonio Spurs, and to me what they're going to do is they're going to definitely build around him. He is going to be the leader of the team. He's already speaking like he's a leader, and they are going to put him in a position of power, and I believe they're going to continue to grow on the youth core. Coach Popovich and the organization has been very, very adamant that they're going to stick to their guns, continue to build on this youth core that they have with them, Vassell, Kayla Johnson, and other people, Jeremy Sohan as well, and, maybe move a little bit of parts around, but their plan is to develop Wemby into the generational talent that he is.
Absolutely. And you mentioned those names alongside Wemby, Carolina with Jeremy Sohan, who showed a lot of promise in his rookie year last year. And, of course, we saw flashes of greatness with Keldon Johnson. And certainly if you know about Coach Pop or Greg Popovich, you know that not only does he like building around young talent, but also the international talent, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But I want to stay just with the city of San Antonio for a moment. You mentioned that if the Spurs did not draft VictorWembanyama, then the city of San Antonio would have shut down. But thank God the Spurs did draft him. So what's the city of San Antonio's response like to the Spurs drafting Wemby? Is it, of course, is it a celebratory mood? Are people really amped up? Have they started buying his jerseys? What about the season tickets? What's been the response like in San Antonio?
Well, there's been a 5,000% increase of traffic for the season tickets for the San Antonio Spurs since they got the number one pick. So, and their revenue is expected to increase by at least $500 to $600 million, which, by the way, was big. That was a big move by Aramark, another big sponsor of the Spurs, to get rid of $500 million of their shares prior to obtaining VictorWembanyama, which is a bad move on their end because they would have, they would have definitely gone up tremendously in value. So for the Spurs, the city, definitely there's a lot of interest. I was there when they selected VictorWembanyama at the AT&T Center. It was a packed house. I felt this energy that I never felt before in the stadium. I've been to Spurs games where they've made it overtime. I've been to Spurs games where they've had close games and they end up winning and the crowd is pretty much going crazy. But I've never experienced the energy just like the one I felt when they selected VictorWembanyama, and that was definitely easily in my top 10 best sports moments that I got to witness personally of all time, because I had never experienced something with that magnitude of happiness, energy. The energy was just happy. And I went to the Spurs fan store in the stadium right after that, the selection, and the line was it was wrapped around, line after line after line. It was like getting into one of those busy roller coaster rides at Six Flags where the lines are just wrapped around and there's an hour-and-a-half wait. That's kind of what the lines were like when you were trying to purchase a jersey for VictorWembanyama. And I thought that was only, just for the city of San Antonio. When I went to Las Vegas, the crowd was just as insane.
I can only imagine, and of course, watching those summer league games on television. I mean, it was just a fever pitch for Victor in his debut, and also in the second summer league game that he played. And we'll get more into summer league in just a little bit. But I want to get to Greg Popovich. We know Pop has had a great history with international players since he's been the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. Tony Parker being from France, also Boris Diaw being from France, Manu Ginobili from Argentina, of course, David Robinson was a domestic player from the United States, Tim Duncan being from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and now he has VictorWembanyama from France, and of course there's Jeremy Sohan from England. I want to ask about Popovich's mindset when it comes to Victor. I know Pop is someone, he coaches hard and, he's no nonsense and he doesn't cherry pick. So I got to ask you, what is Popovich's mindset going to be like with Victor coming into this season?
He basically is just trying to keep things as level as he possibly can. And I think that's a great way to approach it. He doesn't want Victor to get a big head and, well, he didn't say that out loud, but, I mean, that's kind of the Spurs way. They want to be team. They want to be, in a system, and Greg Popovich is the type of player, or the coach, like you said, no nonsense. He's not going to mess around with developing him, and he's made it pretty clear on multiple occasions that this upcoming season isn't going to be a championship season, that it's going to take time to develop him, but they're willing to develop him. VictorWembanyama said he's getting with the San Antonio Spurs to plan his vacations, his workouts, where he's going to be practicing, and he's going to take a break from social media and the media just to prepare for the NBA season. So that already shows that he is already in the Spurs system and doing things the Spurs way. He's already went out to dinner with Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Manu Ginobili, and Sean Elliott as well, to, kind of give him guidance in the Spurs system, and he asked a lot of questions. So he does have not only the mentorship of Greg Popovich, but he has the mentorship of the other teams the other teammates as well from the past. So I think he's in good hands, and I think, the perfect place to develop somebody who is a big star and a generational talent like VictorWembanyama would be the San Antonio. Has already developed the greatest power forward of all time, arguably, which is Tim Duncan. And I could see VictorWembanyama being developed in that position, not necessarily a center because he's thinner in size compared to somebody like a Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid, but maybe in the power forward number 4 position where, he would have a little bit more success, I would believe, in the first year. So we'll see what happens, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited about this move too, and certainly, man, it's going to be a fever pitch. It's already been a fever pitch in San Antonio, and what we've seen with the summer league, and man, it's fun, and it's going to be even more exciting as the new NBA season fast approaches. And I mentioned earlier about the international players being on the Spurs roster. Of course, recently with Jeremy Sohan being from England, and now you add VictorWembanyama from France to the mix as well. I got to ask you, do the Spurs have a system? Do the Spurs have international scouts where they go to certain countries and they find the talent? Because again, we know about the great history of the international players that the Spurs have had on their roster since Greg Popovich has been the head coach, with Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, and of course with Tim Duncan, and just with recent with Sohan and Victor. Do they have scouts, or maybe do they go use the internet to find the international players to be on their roster?
Yes, they definitely do. I've seen scouts all the time at the Spurs games, and also too when I was at Summer League, there were also international scouts there at Summer League, and there is an international scout section. So all teams have scouts, and they go to different teams. They go international as well. So the Spurs picking international is their forte. Not only did they get VictorWembanyama, who's from France, but their other rookie who was picked at 44 was Sidi Sissoko, was also from France as well, and he's native in French and Spanish and English. So they like these international players, and it doesn't surprise me that both of their rookies that they selected in the first round were international players.
Certainly the Spurs know how to do it. They've been doing it for a while now, and certainly they continue in that tradition of getting that great international talent. And we've seen the international talent come of age in the NBA for quite some time with Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, also Luka Doncic, Domantas Sabonis, just to name a few. And I want to get now to Victor and his performance at the Summer League. The first game, 9 points. It was his debut, but the second game, he really came on strong, scoring 27 points. Give me your thoughts on Victor's performances in his 2 games at the Summer League.
So the first game wasn't his best outing, and he took accountability for that performance. He didn't really show up on the offensive end, but you did see flashes of greatness on the defensive end, and as to why he is really good. Defensively, he performed really well, and he got skewered by social media, the internet, and the people who watch Summer League and talking heads because offensively he did not show up. And that's understandably so, because you're looking at a generational talent. You're expecting to see the talent there immediately. And post-game, Victor seemed to be a little disappointed in his performance, and rightfully so. I mean, when you are a great talent, you're going to be your biggest critic. Then the second game comes around and he bounces back. If I'm not mistaken, he had 28 or 29 points. I don't have the stats in front of me. But he bounced back in game 2 and was great on both sides of the floor. And the Spurs ended up losing that game that he had a great performance on, which kind of goes back to the part where at the end of the day, basketball is a team sport. And if you're going to win games, everybody has to show up, not just VictorWembanyama, but everybody else on the team. So it's ironic that the game that he performs poorly on, the Spurs win. And when he does great, the Spurs lost. So at the end of the day, it's a team sport, but Victor's performance in Game 2 definitely was a bounce-back performance, and I didn't necessarily see the media going crazy for him on his Game 2 performance. But they did definitely shred him to pieces for Game 1.
Yeah, that was a little harsh right there. I mean, it was his first game in America, and I really thought they should have cut him some slack. And definitely he showed up and showed out for the second game that he played in, putting up a double-double. So he definitely redeemed himself in his second Summer League game. And I just want to stay with Summer League for a moment, Carolina. The atmosphere surrounding him in Las Vegas at the Summer League. You talked about people buying tickets and the revenue going up for this year's NBA Summer League. Unfortunately, he ran into some unforeseen circumstances with a pop star. I think people know who we're talking about, but overall, you were there covering it in Las Vegas, and I want to ask you, what was just the atmosphere like with him playing in those games and him being around Las Vegas?
It was a sold-out crowd. Both of his games, in the games where he didn't play, as soon as the Spurs game was over, everybody left, and it was not as packed as it normally was, and it was back to regular Summer League business. But sold out, and it was an ESPN record for most viewers watched and most social media engagement, and it was all because of VictorWembanyama, and they accredited to him that on a PR email that I received. So it's definitely the Wemby effect as to why so many people supported him and came out. And not to mention the crowd went crazy when he was on the court, and even at NBA Con when he was there and I showed up to see him speak with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the Then and Now series, I had arrived late because the line was completely out of the event center where they were holding the press conference. So it took me a while to gain access, and I caught the tail end of the series. But at the end, the fans that were inside of the NBA Con Then and Now series to see Victor, they swarmed him afterwards, and he took the time to sign some autographs. But that's just kind of been his life so far. Even Britney Spears approached him, and she got smacked to the ground. So it's not just fans. People who are celebrities are fans of him, and it's pretty crazy to watch. If I compare him to like a Justin Bieber or a Michael Jackson, I've never seen an NBA player in person be treated the way he was.
Wow, that says a lot right there. It's definitely superstar treatment, and as you said, it's the Wemby effect, man. And it's going to be interesting how it all plays out once we approach the regular season, or matter of fact, the preseason for that matter, when the Spurs take the court. And you heard it from her. She's CarolinaTeague. She is the host of A League of Her Own podcast, and also she's a ring announcer for River City Wrestling, and also she writes for Sports as Told by a Girl, and also just doing countless other things. And Carolina, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the program. Just tell everybody what's going on over at A League of Her Own and all the other stuff that you're busy with.
Yeah, so League of Our Own is going to be every Wednesday at around 7 o'clock on social media, on YouTube stream, on Twitter stream, and on Facebook stream. And I also have a interview with a legendary boxer in the game right now on the Spence Crawford co-main event. Pitbull Cruz coming out soon, so I'm really excited about that. And just stay in tune and keep up with me. I'll be doing wrestling events. Follow me at CarolinaTeague _, and I'll see you guys soon.
Awesome. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media, any websites. Let the listeners know that as well.
Okay, so I don't have a website, but you can definitely find me on social media. I am currently working on getting my website up for a League of Our Own, so that's actually my next step as well. But you can definitely find me at CarolinaTeague_ on Twitter, on Instagram. On TikTok, I'm CarolinaTeague Sports, so definitely follow up with me and keep up. And it's always great to be on your show.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on. So you heard it from her, CarolinaTeague. She is the host of the League of Her Own podcast, and check it out on YouTube and also on Twitter and Facebook. And also she writes for Sports as Told by a Girl, and also she does ring announcing for a promotion in San Antonio called RCW, River City Wrestling. Carolina, as always, thank you again. If ever you want to come back on, feel free to let us know.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. We'll be back with more right after this.
With the first pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select VictorWembanyama from Nanterre, France.
He's just accomplishing something that I've been dreaming of, my whole life. Hearing that sentence from Adam Silver, I've dreamed of it so much that, I gotta cry,
5 on the shot clock. That 3 is long, and Brandon with the board. Good pace to this game. Nice rim run by Wembanyama, and one, and there it is. Wembanyama with the midi, knocks it home, laces the 2-ball. Wembanyama on the wing, goes through the legs. Well, all right. Wesley behind the Barlow screen. Little midi comes off. Wemby, okay now. Now you're showing me something special. Wemby with the tip to himself and the flush. Little pitch back from Barlow. Wemby for 3. Butter.
Modern life is noisy. Noise is everywhere. Excessive noise is harmful, linked to sleep deprivation, hearing loss, and heart disease. Should noise be the price we pay for progress? Actually, no. Many noise sources have quieter options. Gas-powered landscaping equipment is obsolete, with battery-powered options greatly reducing noise and air pollution. Audible car alarms are obsolete, with vehicle immobilizers and GPS tracking providing silent anti-theft technologies. Quieter backup warning sounds are available, and adjustable directional sounds are less intrusive. So what can you do to reduce noise levels? Talk to store and building managers about safe sound levels. Work with elected officials and the police to strengthen noise enforcement. Join Noise Free America, a coalition to promote quiet.
All right, once again, a big special thank you to CarolinaTeague, host of the League of Her Own podcast, as she appeared on the program to talk about the San Antonio Spurs drafting VictorWembanyama and also Victor's performance at the Summer League and the atmosphere surrounding him. Well, coming up after the break, we have NickAgarJohnson, host of the No Ceilings NBA Deep Dives podcast and editor-in-chief and writer for No Ceilings NBA and writer for #Basketball in Nets Republic. We recap the Cleveland Cavaliers winning the 2023 NBA Summer League Championship, also to discuss Victor Wembanyama and much more. Nick is coming up after the break. I'm Ed Robinson, and you're listening to At the Rim.
There's no hiding from this enormous new flavor, Bluebell Monster Cookie Dough Ice Cream. A creamy vanilla ice cream with hints of brown sugar loaded with peanut butter monster cookie dough pieces, candy-coated chocolate bits, and dark chocolate-flavored chunks. Delicious. You'll need a bigger bowl and spoon.
Look for Bluebell ice cream at your favorite grocer. Please ask for it if you can't find it.
Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
"Oh, are you in for a surprise?"
You can be busy every day.
All day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
and it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org. Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
Oh, are you in for a surprise?
You can be busy every day,
All day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
and it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org. Wondering what retirement is like at St. James Place in Baton Rouge? Folks who live there say,
Oh, are you in for a surprise?
You can be busy every day,
all day.
The social life is outstanding.
Wonderful parties.
There are courses in computer, art, music.
I feel blessed to live here.
You'll have to come see it. It's great.
And it might be more affordable than you think. Learn more and schedule a tour at stjamesplaceinfo.org.
With the first pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select VictorWembanyama from Nanterre, France.
He's just accomplishing something that I've been dreaming of, my whole life. Hearing that sentence from Adam Silver, I've dreamed of it so much that, I gotta cry, man.
5 on the shot clock. That three is long, and Brandon with the board. Good pace to this game. Nice rim run by Wembanyama, and one, and there it is. Wembanyama with the midi. Knocks it home, laces the two ball. Wembanyama on the wing, goes through the legs. Well, all right. Wesley behind the Barlow screen. Little midi comes off. Wemby, okay now. Now you're showing me something special. Wemby with the tip to himself and the flush. Little pitch back from Barlow. Wemby for three. Butter. Bates pulls. Got it. A sizzling, scintillating beginning shooting-wise for Cleveland. Porter with the rebound. Got a man open. Bates. Room service. Bates running the floor. Slams it home. Bates. Finger roll. Got it. Whistle. And one. Bates with the bucket and a free throw to follow. Bates on the drive. Got it to go off glass.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the program. That audio is courtesy of ESPN and the Walt Disney Company and the NBA. And that first audio bite that you heard was the San Antonio Spurs selecting the number 1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft, selecting center Victor Wembanyama. And you also heard Victor in action during the 2 games that he played during the Summer League. And also that last sound bite that you heard was Emoni Bates, Cleveland Cavaliers forward, in action in the 2023 NBA Summer League Championship in Las Vegas, as the Cleveland Cavaliers would go on to beat the Houston Rockets to win this year's NBA Summer League Championship in Las Vegas. To talk more about the Summer League as well as Mr. Wembanyama, let's welcome him back to the program. Always knowledgeable, always efficient, always giving us the information that we need. And he was in Las Vegas covering the NBA Summer League, host of the No Ceilings NBA Deep Dives podcast, also editor-in-chief and writer for No Ceilings NBA, and writer for #Basketball and Nets Republic, NickAgarJohnson. Hey, Nick, welcome back, my man.
Ed, thanks so much for having me back. Always a great time to talk about basketball with you, and this is a really interesting and exciting summer league, and I can't wait to talk about it more with you on the program.
Absolutely, man. And the weather in Las Vegas was hot, 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 and certainly the Summer League was hot, hot, hot as well. And we're going to get more into Victor in just a little bit, but I want to recap the Cleveland Cavaliers winning the 2023 Summer League Championship. What were your takeaways from Cleveland winning this year's championship in Las Vegas?
This was a really solid Cavaliers roster. I got the chance to watch them in action in one of their games while I was in Las Vegas. And certainly, you mentioned Emoni Bates. He's someone who has had a lot of expectations on him since he was, 14, 15 years old and seen as the best high school player in his class. And, he's had a tough couple of years on and off the court. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. But this summer league, I was really impressed by Imani from start to finish. I mean, there's a sort of typical summer league thing of many players who are just looking to put up as many shots as they possibly can. And certainly that was a concern with Imani, especially during his season at Memphis, of whether he'd ever be good enough at sharing the basketball. And I was really impressed with, how he was letting the game come to him. He's an incredible scorer, incredible shooter, but he was making a lot of solid passing reads as well that really impressed me. And, this Cleveland Cavaliers squad had quite a few talented players on there, but ultimately this wasn't a team that had one of the top 5 picks in the last draft, on the roster playing for them. So it was really a solid team effort by the Cavaliers overall. And I was particularly impressed by Imani as, someone who he's certainly been through the ringer in terms of his draft stock right up until getting picked by the Cavaliers in the second round. But he was really impressive in Summer League in a way that certainly some other players were not, and certainly some people might not have expected to see from Imani Bates.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, Nick, about the struggles that he's had on and off the court. But if this was ever, I guess you could say, a case for redemption, it would be this year's Summer League championship and Imani Bates scoring 19 points. You also mentioned a couple of other key factors for the Cleveland Cavaliers in this championship victory. Isaiah Mobley had 28 points and Sam Merrill finished with 27 points. Just give me your thoughts on Isaiah and Sam in the championship victory.
So Isaiah Mobley is someone who I was very high on in last year's draft. And, I thought it was really cool that he ended up going to the Cleveland Cavaliers where, his brother Evan has been established as a rising star for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But with Isaiah, something that I noted with Isaiah Mobley last year in Summer League was just how involved he was in making sure all his teammates knew where they were supposed to be on the defensive end. He was communicating better than pretty much anybody else I saw out there. And that was the same sort of thing this season. He was clearly very invested in playing good basketball and making sure that his teammates were also playing good basketball. And as for Sam Merrill, my goodness, the first game that I saw of Cleveland in Summer League, he was just an absolute flamethrower. And with Sam Merrill, you're bringing him onto the team to be a shooting threat. And he was ridiculously hot in the game I saw him. I think he ended up going 8 for 11 from 3-point range in that game. But yeah, he's someone who looked like he was a step above the rest of the players in Summer League during that one game when he was just absolutely torching the net. So not particularly surprising for me that he also went off for 27 in the championship game. He was one of the better, more complete players that I saw in Summer League this year.
Yeah, definitely watching some of the games involving Cleveland, specifically in the championship. I've noticed that Isaiah played very well. And like you said, Sam Merrill being a flamethrower, just knocking down buckets from one end of the court to the other. And certainly, definitely, they both held their own in the championship. Were there any other things, any other takeaways that you had, Nick, in terms of Cleveland and their performance in winning this year's Summer League championship?
So Luke Travers is someone who really, really stood out to me last year for the Cavaliers. I think I was one of the many people who was surprised that he ended up being one of the picks in last year's draft, and yet he was really impressive in Summer League last year, sort of a do-everything kind of forward, blocking shots, knocking down shots on the other end. And this season was a bit more muted of a Summer League performance for him. I think he still looks really good in flashes, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he does end up, having a NBA career of some kind, whether it's just a cup of coffee or a few years in the league. He definitely, has the talent to play a few games at the NBA level. Craig Porter Jr. is someone who my No Ceilings colleague, Nathan Grubel, has been a huge fan of for a long time. And he also had some really impressive moments for the Cavaliers throughout Summer League. And, lastly, I was someone who was really high on Pete Nance last year heading into the draft and, cooled off on him a little bit this year after he had not the best season. I was hoping to see more from him, honestly, in this Summer League, but ultimately, he played his part for this Cavaliers squad that ended up winning the championship, so it's hard to be too upset by it. But really the guys who stood out to me the most were Imani. I was just so pleasantly surprised by what he was able to do out there on the court, and Sam Merrill, as I already mentioned, just absolutely torching the nets from deep. And, of course, Isaiah Mobley, who I've been a big fan of for a long time, was pleasantly surprised, but also not particularly surprised that he was as good as he was in the Summer League setting.
Absolutely, and so definitely the Cleveland Cavaliers, they already have a young nucleus with the likes of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen and, of course, Darius Garland, and you can't forget about Spider, Donovan Mitchell, and certainly they've got some young talent that's definitely going to add on to the rising success of Cleveland with the names that you mentioned with Imani Bates, Isaiah Mobley, and Sam Merrill. So congratulations to the Cleveland Cavaliers for winning the 2023 NBA Summer League Championship in Las Vegas. And speaking of Las Vegas, Nick, VictorWembanyama, the number 1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft. And this year's Summer League was at a fever pitch. Matter of fact, a lot of records were broken in terms of ticket sales. And, of course, with a major sports network, also broke records in terms of their TV ratings with the Summer League. Never has there ever been a Summer League with so much anticipation involving a player, specifically with VictorWembanyama. What was the atmosphere like surrounding Victor in his time in the Summer League in Las Vegas?
It was absolutely insane. So this is the second year that I've been to Summer League in person, and one of my No Ceilings colleagues, Tyler Rucker, had been, I believe he said it was his 6th Summer League. This was the first time that any of us on the No Ceilings team saw any Summer League tickets being sold out. And they were sold out for the first 3 days. We were lucky enough to have gotten tickets for the first day in advance, but, Summer League tickets were sold out for the first time that any of us could recall even hearing about. And, that was, one thing to hear about all the tickets being sold out. It was another thing to be in the arena. And Thomas and Mack Center, I'd never seen the second deck, with people in it during Summer League, during the 2 years that I've been there. This time around, for the second VictorWembanyama game, I had to sit way back in the second deck because the entire first level was completely full. It was a wilder environment than I'd ever seen at Summer League, and that my colleagues who had been to Summer League far more times than I had, wilder environment than any of them had seen in Summer League before either. This was a spectacular draft class all around in terms of, star-level talent, but there's a difference between, star-level talent and what effect VictorWembanyama had on the environment in Las Vegas. It was packed, it was rowdy, it was energetic, and it was like nothing I'd seen before in Summer League, and nothing like my colleagues who had been to Summer League far more often than I had ever seen in Summer League before.
Wow, you mentioned about the atmosphere being wild and rowdy. I got to ask you a lighthearted question. With Victor being at Summer League, was the atmosphere similar to maybe like a One Direction or maybe like a BTS or a Jonas Brothers type atmosphere?
I can't say I've ever been to a Jonas Brothers concert, so I wouldn't know from personal experience, but it was definitely a crowd that was different than what I had been used to seeing at Summer League. It was far more crowded. There were definitely far more kids in attendance than there had been previous Summer Leagues. A lot of previous Summer Leagues is just the absolute diehards, and then, people who are either NBA media or employed by NBA teams, right? The fact that, the first level was completely packed out was something that I hadn't seen before. The fact that the second deck at Thomas and Mack was as crowded as it was, to the point where I had to march a decent number of rows back just to be able to find a seat. It was a crazier environment than I'd ever seen at Summer League. And there definitely was some element of, kids who were going there to experience VictorWembanyama firsthand in person that I am pretty confident those kids were not there last year to see any of the stars of last year's draft class.
Wow, definitely sounds like it was one heck of an experience that you and your colleagues had, and just seeing Wemby do his thing and be in action, and certainly that atmosphere was just extraordinary in Las Vegas. And I want to stay just with Victor for a moment. Dick, you mentioned about you and your colleagues and the rest of the fans having an experience, but let's just say Victor had a skirmish, so to speak, with a famous pop superstar. Where were you when you found out when all this went down?
So, long story short, I had a very long couple of travel days heading into Summer League in Las Vegas, and I got to where the No Ceilings crew was staying pretty late on Thursday night, and that was really when, I'd sort of seen that something had happened with VictorWembanyama, but that Thursday night was when I actually got the full sort of news download of what had happened between VictorWembanyama and Britney Spears, and that was certainly not something that I expected to be a part of my summer league experience, was VictorWembanyama beefing with a pop star from my childhood. But, it was certainly a crazy environment in Las Vegas, and certainly a lot of that crazy environment was circled around just how many people wanted to, experience what it was like to be near VictorWembanyama in person.
Certainly, Victor, I tell you one thing, he was only there for a short amount of time, but it was definitely not a dull moment with him or any of the experiences that were in during that time in Las Vegas for the Summer League. And, this year's Summer League, we talked about Victor. We also talk about the Cavaliers winning this year's Summer League championship. Overall, Nick, just give me your takeaways from this year's Summer League, not just with Victor, but also with some of the performances that caught your eye from this year's Summer League.
So the biggest star of this year's class in Summer League was Keyonte George for the Utah Jazz. He was just spectacular. I only got to see one game of his in Las Vegas, but basically during that game, we showed up, we went from Thomas & Mack to Cox Pavilion, which is the smaller arena in Las Vegas. For those who aren't familiar with the Summer League environment, there's Thomas & Mack Center, which is sort of the big arena where, a lot of the sort of prime, quote-unquote, games are held. And then Cox Pavilion is a smaller arena that's sort of attached to the Thomas & Mack Center, where they often will have games running concurrently. So there's a game at Cox Pavilion that starts at noon, and then a game in Thomas & Mack Center that starts at 1 p.m., and in last year's Summer League, when the seats weren't sold out like they were this year, it was a lot easier to sort of go back and forth between arenas, see a bit of one game, then head over to the other arena to catch a bit of the other game. But it was a bit more difficult to do that this year. But we ended up going to Cox Pavilion, and Keyonte had, 3 points by the time we showed up. He basically hadn't, played much in the first quarter. And within about 5 minutes of us showing up, he goes on a 16-point run basically by himself. It was remarkable to see what Keyonte was doing as a scorer in Summer League. But, that was sort of always the thing with him was, he's been this spectacular scoring guard for quite a while now. But what impressed me the most with his freshman season, his, 1 year in college at Baylor, was how much he appeared to have grown as a passer and playmaker. And that was on full display in Utah as well. This is someone who averaged, 21 points a game during his time in Utah, but also, a lot of my No Ceilings college and I were wondering if, Keyonte might end up being a starting point guard for the Utah Jazz sooner rather than later. That's how good he looked. That's how good he looked as a passer and playmaker and leader. And, as someone who thought of him as more of a combo guard type who probably trended more towards shooting guard than point guard, this last year at Baylor was one thing, but seeing him do it in Summer League as well, he looked NBA ready, and he might be the starting point guard for the Utah Jazz sooner rather than later. So he was spectacularly impressive. Jabari Smith Jr. also, last year was a very frustrating Summer League performance from him, and he had a very, very up and down rookie season with the Houston Rockets, but if his performance in this Summer League is anything to go by, he is ready for a big breakout in his sophomore year. He just absolutely destroyed everybody in front of him during the 2 games that he played in Las Vegas. And if you're a Houston Rockets fan, you've got to be happy about what Jabari Smith Jr. did out there on the floor for the Rockets. And same thing with Tari Eason, who was also spectacularly impressive. I was a bit less sort of pleasantly surprised by that just because Tari Eason was also dominant last year in Summer League. So it wasn't sort of a different feel, whereas with Jabari Smith Jr., it was like, wow, he's really put a lot together, it feels like, since last Summer League, and hopefully that's something that can carry over. And finally, one other second-year player that I wanted to make sure to mention, Chet Holmgren, after missing all of last year with, his injuries, he looked pretty tentative in the start of his first game, and then he got knocked down on a drive to the rim, and after that was just absolutely dominating everybody on both ends of the floor. He had 7 blocks in 2 games. He had 41 points. 56% shooting from the floor. His pump fake was absolutely leaving other players in fits. Nobody had any idea what to do with Chet when he pump faked, and he was incredibly impressive to watch. And that wasn't, particularly surprising, especially since I had him number 1 overall in last year's class, and he was very impressive in Summer League last year before, he missed the regular season with his injury. But definitely, Jabari Smith Jr., Chet Holmgren, and Keontae George were the 3 biggest standouts for me, and then Tari Eason was also very, very impressive as a second-year player.
Yeah, those guys were amazing, especially Chet Holmgren. I'll tell you one thing, Chet definitely this year, this regular season that will be coming up is definitely going to be a comeback year for him after what you mentioned earlier about getting hurt in last year's Summer League and being out for the season. So Chet has definitely got a lot to prove. And speaking of somebody that has a lot to prove, I want to stay just with Jabari Smith Jr. for a moment. Now, I'm paraphrasing, so this is not the actual quote, but he just mentioned that his rookie year, as you mentioned, Nick, was not that good at all. And specifically, he did not have a great summer league last year. But this year, he wanted to return to the summer league. He wanted to play, and he just showed his appreciation and his gratitude for being in the summer league and wanting to improve his skills. And he said, why not? Who would not want to be here? Just kind of give me your thoughts on Jabari and just his appreciation and his gratitude for wanting to come back and wanting to improve specifically in this year's summer league.
I was so happy to hear that quote, and just as happy to see how great he looked in this year's Summer League. That was one of my biggest takeaways from Summer League last year. I remember very vividly there was a moment when he knocked down a three-pointer after he'd been something like 2 for 12 before that. It missed the vast majority of his shots, and he knocked down this three-pointer and he just started screaming at the top of his lungs. It was so clearly just incredibly frustrating for him to go through the experience of last year's Summer League and just feel like he was taking good shots and not having those shots fall at all. And this year was almost the exact opposite of that experience. He looked locked in from moment one, and he was just dominating his competition, offensively, which, especially given that, he was viewed, certainly in my mind anyway, as, much more of a defensive prospect than an offensive prospect coming into the league. He was an exceptional three-point shooter at Auburn, and that was a huge driver of why he ended up going third overall. But, for me, the main thing with Jabari Smith was that, I was expecting him to be a really, really good defensive player. So, him struggling on offense and his clear frustration with how much he was struggling on offense in last year's Summer League was a bit concerning. And to see him come out this year and, not only, as you expressed, paraphrasing his quote, noting how grateful he was for the opportunity to come out and perform in Summer League. It wasn't just that he came out and worked on his game. He came out and absolutely dominated the competition for 2 games. And honestly, I think that was something that he really needed, not just on the back of a pretty poor Summer League last year and a frustrating sort of up and down rookie season for the Houston Rockets. It was great to just see him humanly go in there and succeed to the level that he thinks he can, that he hoped he could succeed, and to see him dominate Summer League the way he did, especially after my memories of how clearly annoyed and frustrated he was with how he was playing last year. It was just really great to see.
That was really great to see Jabari just have a comeback and definitely do his thing. And as you said, one of the guys that caught your attention at this year's Summer League. Another person that caught my eye during this year's Summer League was Cam Whitmore, and he was the MVP of this year's Summer League. Just give me your thoughts on Cam and his play.
Yeah, so Cam had some really great moments in Summer League, and that Summer League MVP was well-deserved. I didn't mention him with Jabari Smith and Tari Eason just because those two thoroughly dominated Summer League, and because they were second-year players, they only played the 2 games in Las Vegas before, the Rockets said, okay, yeah, you're good to go. We don't need to, risk you getting hurt in any of the rest of these games. And so from that point forward, it really became Cam Whitmore's team. And, to his credit, he was, great at getting his way downhill, getting his way to the rim, which was, the big strength of his game at Villanova as well. He also showed a little bit more as a passer as Summer League went on, which that was a big knock of his coming out of Villanova. And, I wouldn't put him on the same level as Imani Bates in terms of how pleasantly surprised I was by their playmaking elements. But, I mean, with how dominant Cam Whitmore was in the paint, really he just needs to get the ball in his hands and start attacking the basket. And that was certainly something he did, and, something he did consistently throughout Summer League. So even though I was more impressed by Jabari Smith and Tari Eason, those were only 2 games that they played, right? Whereas Cam Whitmore, stuck around through all of Summer League, took the Rockets to that championship game, and if not for a spectacular performance by the Cleveland Cavaliers Summer League squad, he might have been able to add a Summer League trophy to that Summer League MVP.
All right, and definitely Cam shined bright at this year's Summer League being the MVP. So now, Nick, you had as you mentioned, the experience at this year's Summer League in Las Vegas was amazing with VictorWembanyama and also seeing some of the great talent and some of the great teams that played in this year's tournament. I have to ask you now, I want to ask you now about the atmosphere in Las Vegas. First question, the weather. We've been keeping up with how we've had heat waves in various parts of the country, and the West Coast was no exception to the rule. What was the heat like in Las Vegas, Nick?
So I live in Sacramento, California. I'm currently calling in from Sacramento, California, where it's not exactly out of the ordinary to have triple-digit days during the summer. So, on the one hand, I guess I was sort of less thrown off by the weather than maybe some other people that were in Las Vegas, either for the first time or, having come from the East Coast where it's not as common to have days in the hundreds regularly, but it was toasty. Let's put it that way. I mean, there were a couple of days in particular where you'd get out of the arena and just immediately be blasted by the heat. It's like, oh, okay, that's what it feels like to go from, heavily air-conditioned arena to what it's actually like outside in Las Vegas. So, the weather was one thing. It wasn't, I guess, as surprising to me as it might have been to other people who, don't live in places where it's regularly close to that hot. But I mean, even Sacramento doesn't hit the 110s like it does in Las Vegas sometimes. So that was one thing. But the flip side of that was just the atmosphere at Summer League was incredible. And, this being year 2, it was an incredible atmosphere last year too, but there's a very different sort of feel between last year, with Paulo Banchero and Chet Holmgren and Jabari Smith being the top 3 sort of running the show versus just what absolute madness it was this year for VictorWembanyama and Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller. I mean, VictorWembanyama in particular clearly was the driving force behind the absolutely massive crowds. But, I mean, day 2 of Summer League was sold out as well, and Victor didn't play that day. It's clearly something where Summer League as an experience has just expanded to a much larger audience than it had previously captured. And even if it might make it more difficult for me and other people to, get into the arena, get tickets, I mean, it was just remarkable to see, even between my first year and my second year of Summer League, just how much the experience has grown and how excited people are to be in Las Vegas and just how incredible of an atmosphere it is to be in that arena with, so many NBA movers and shakers, but also so many dedicated fans who have made the journey out to Las Vegas and to the, oppressive, let's say, weather of Las Vegas just to be a part of the Summer League experience. It was an incredible energy in the arena, and, that was something that I was really happy to see.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Nick. We talked about the triple-digit heat, and certainly it didn't bother the fans. They just, as they say, you just grin and bear it, and certainly they grinned and they bared it and certainly wanted to see VictorWembanyama and just be a part of the whole atmosphere of this year's NBA Summer League. And I'm just glad that you had those experiences. And definitely, as you said, just a complete 180 from this year as opposed to last year. And you heard it from him. He's NickAgarJohnson, host of the No Ceilings NBA Deep Dives podcast, also editor-in-chief and writer for No Ceilings NBA and writer for #Basketball, and that's Republic. As always, Nick, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the program. Just tell everybody what's currently going on over at No Ceilings, also #Basketball, and that's Republic.
Absolutely. Well, Ed, first of all, thank you so much for having me back on the program. Always a great time to talk about basketball with you. In terms of what's going on my end, the NBA Deep Dives podcast will be back very soon. Be on the lookout for that, as well as written content over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. Be sure to subscribe and check us out. And then over at Nets Republic, be sure to check that out. And then #Basketball, with #Basketball and the #Sports Network, there's ton of great content, ton of great stuff over at #basketball.com and the sister websites.
Awesome. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media, as well as No Ceilings, also #basketball and Nets Republic.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at NBAJohnson for as long as Twitter is around. And you can find Nets Republic at Nets Republic on socials, #basketball at #basketball on socials. And then No Ceilings, you can find No Ceilings TV on YouTube. And then on all socials, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever you want to find, you can find No Ceilings NBA on your social media platform of choice.
You heard it from him. He is NickAgarJohnson, host of the No Ceilings NBA Deep Dives podcast, also editor-in-chief and writer for No Ceilings NBA and writer for #basketball and Nets Republic. As always, Nick, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. If ever you want to come back on, just feel free to let us know.
Absolutely. I'd had a ton of fun as well. Thanks so much for having me back, and hopefully I can come on the program again sometime soon.
All right, you've got that. We'll be back with more right after this.
With the first pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select VictorWembanyama from Nanterre, France.
It's just accomplishing something that I've been dreaming of, my whole life. Hearing that sentence from Adam Silver, I've dreamed of it so much that, I gotta cry, man.
5 on the shot clock. That 3 is long, and Brandon with the board. Good pace to this game. Nice rim run by Wembanyama, and one, and there it is. Wembanyama with the midi, knocks it home, laces the 2-ball. Wembanyama on the wing, goes through the legs. Well, all right. Wesley behind the Barlow screen. Little midi comes off. Wemby, okay now you're showing me something special. Wemby with the tip to himself and the flush. Little pitch back from Barlow. Wemby for 3, butter. Bates pulls, got it. A sizzling, scintillating beginning shooting-wise for Cleveland. Porter with the rebound, got a man open. Bates, room service. Bates running the floor, slams it home. Bates, finger roll, got it. Whistle, and one. Bates with the bucket and a free throw to follow. Bates on the drive, got it to go off glass.
Modern life is noisy. Noise is everywhere. Excessive noise is harmful, linked to sleep deprivation, hearing loss, and heart disease. Should noise be the price we pay for progress? Actually, no. Many noise sources have quieter options. Gas-powered landscaping equipment is obsolete, with battery-powered options greatly reducing noise and air pollution. Audible car alarms are obsolete, with vehicle immobilizers and GPS tracking providing silent anti-theft technologies. Quieter backup warning sounds are available, and adjustable directional sounds are less intrusive. So what can you do to reduce noise levels? Talk to store and building managers about safe sound levels. Work with elected officials and the police to strengthen noise enforcement. Join Noise Free America, a coalition to promote quiet.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for At the Rim. Once again, a big special thank you to Kayla Grey, VojaMedic, CarolinaTeague, and NickAgarJohnson, all for appearing on the program. And it's been a lot of fun. I'll talk to you soon. Until next time, I'm Ed Robinson saying so long, and you've been listening to At the Rim. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. Once again, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.